Hello everyone, it is I, the lovable rascal who created the soundtrack for Prison City. Boom, boom, boom! Available now on all major consoles. It's official. It's on Steam. It's on every major console. It's ready to rock. There's no way that you cannot play this game. You'll play it no matter where you want. Alright, so Desi, you're in here. I've got the chat turned off tonight because I'm going to edit this down to a video for YouTube later. But I will be responding to chat. I'll just have to edit some of it out. Welcome in, Desi. A live stir, everyone. Alright, you lovable rascal. You got here quick, Desi. You were here light quick. Alright, we don't need those anymore. That was for just the intro. Alright, you guys are hearing it right now. I'm just going to quickly tell all the people on Twitter and all the people on Facebook and all the people on my Discord that they can get the hell in here and get out of their mind. Desi, we got a special thing tonight. I had to jury rig, because you know how I use Cubase for all of my audio on OBS. Well, I had to basically open up a project file from Prison City and recreate my whole setup just so that I could talk while I'm playing music from the actual Cubase setup. So I'm going to show the whole thing, including where I started. What we're going to do first, I'll just do this now. I'll edit this later in post. What we're going to do at the start, I'm going to go through a mod plug file and show you exactly how I made the NES music. Straight up NES music. How it was made. Then, I'm going to show you how I exported all of that into separate audio streams, like audio channels, ported it over to Cubase, and then got out of my mind with secret selective strategies to try and make the NES music sound just a little bit more modern. It's a really delicate thing, because you so much as separate those two square waves in a Nintendo track, and you've blown it, buddy. No one's going to like it. Everyone's going to say, this sounds like a piece of poo. The 2003 ringtone. I ain't standing for it. All right, Grungy Nick, get the hell in here, buddy. But here, for D King, I kiss you. All right, guys, I got no chat tonight, but I will be responding to chat. All right, I'm trying to edit this one into a YouTube video, but I'm doing it live, which is the most ridiculous and inefficient way to do it. But you know what? I need that live energy. So you guys in here, sit your butts down. You guys are gonna feed me like the Spirit Bomb in Dragon Ball Z. All right, first things first. I got to go on Twitter. Boom. I tried to do this last night, everyone, and I had two separate catastrophic failures that caused me, like, I couldn't jury rig my Cubase to allow me to speak to you all while you can hear the Cubase project itself, and then restream, which allows me to go to YouTube and Twitch at the same time, dump the bed big time, and I had to actually go on to customer support with them and figure out it was my modem. My ISP just got bought out by a bigger ISP, and they want me to get some new modem, but I've been sandbagging it, so I think it just fricks up every once in a while. Anyways, it selectively fricks up. Says, well, you know what? This website isn't going to work anymore for you. Like, sometimes you'll just go on the internet, and the only thing that works is YouTube and Google stuff, and you're like, what the hell kind of Edward Snowden garbage is this? You can only use Google now. That doesn't sound right. I think it's just because Google's what you were using when it went off. I don't know what the problem is, but you reset both things, and then suddenly every website comes available to you. I can only imagine it's because of the damn ISP. That's all I got. All right, I'm also going to change one thing here. If you want your YouTube stream, this is a pro tip for all you guys, because now you can go to both. No problem. Twitch has stopped being so anal retentive about it. Hold retentive. Now you can actually stream to both. But if you want your thumbnail to show up in YouTube, you got to open up your YouTube My Studio or YouTube Studio, click on the video that is currently going live, and then change the thumbnail while you're live. Oh my god. Alright, that's how we do that. Done. I think I can also remove the restream branding, which is nice. Yeah, save those changes. Alright, last thing, we got to get the Discorders in here. Whoopsies. Alright, well, I blew it already. Let me just do it in 2 posts then. Fine, that looks awful. Alright, we're currently listening to some more Prison City as we speak. Okay. Minimize. Alright. You blew up on my YouTube notifications yesterday, King Richard, I'm sorry. A curtsy for you. Alright. Oof! Alright, now now everyone knows. Now I'm just gonna let you guys know. I'll basically just be talking to you guys, the regulars, but I will edit this to a nice, concise 10 or 15 minute long video on YouTube later. Okay, so let's just start at the beginning. It's a good track to have in the background. Alright. Sorry, everyone. I've turned off the notifications, too, because I don't want to have to edit them out. God damn it. No notifications. Or not, Twitch alerts. I'll do it. Tino. Oh, maybe I should turn it back on. Frick. I just didn't want Dan hosing me down this whole time. I'm gonna edit. It's gonna be fine. We're just going raw tonight. I mean, I should have just disabled them totally, but that's a lot more effort than it's worth. All right? All right. Anyway, so for the last 20 years of my life, since about 2002, I've been creating NES music as a hobby. I don't know why I started doing this. I don't know why I got so hooked on NES music. I know I liked it as a kid, but something around when I was in late high school, I was like, hey, actually, I know what happened. I didn't have money. No money. I'm a kid. I don't have any audio software. I'm a kid. It's the late 90s. There's no audio software. But I was tipped off to the presence of a type of music creating called trackers, making music in a tracker. Now, there was really popular ones before my time called Scream Tracker and Impulse Tracker and all these other trackers. I don't know. It was before my time. But people would basically take tiny little samples and then bring them into a thing called a tracker. And the tracker would just say, hey, this tiny little millisecond, we're going to loop it so it makes a buzzing sound, or it can be a tone, or, you know, they can be bigger than that. But file space was limited back then. We're going to take this tiny little sample, loop it, and then whenever you hit a note on your keyboard, because you're so poor, you don't even have a playing keyboard like this one, you only have a typing keyboard. So now if I hit the A key, it plays octave C1 or C3 or whatever, and then all the way down the keys, it's like a guitar where every key is a different fret. And we're going to show you guys that in a second, but I just want to outline it first. Anyways, the thing was, you could download someone's whole project file, and it would have all these tiny little samples in it, and you could open it up in your ModPlug tracker. I was using ModPlug because it was like the newest version. It took all the trackers from before, and it shoved them together so you could open up any tracker format, and it was basically like the enterprise level tracker at the time. So Mario Paint, I started with Mario Paint, Grungy Nick. I remember they only let you have 3 notes at a time, and that really makes it hard to write a song. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do here? I can have a bass and a drum and a lead, and that's it? Miyamoto, you a-hole. The Super Nintendo had 8 channels, so why'd they only let me have 3 channels in Mario Paint? You answer me that, Grungy Nick. Miyamoto's got some answering to do, some splaining to do. Anyways, so I was opening up other people's project files in ModPlug and opening them up on my computer, and the neat thing was you could just take all their samples and play your own song with it. All right, you got all these 6 samples already loaded up. It's like your own copy of Mario Paint. You got your own bass samples? All right, beep, boop, 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 boop. You start entering your own notes. And there was one guy out there called Jake Kaufman, who at the time was going by Vert, and he was the first guy I ever heard who made NES music in this format. And he used square wave sounds, which are what you hear in the background. Square waves, triangle waves, and like 1-bit DPCM samples. I'm like, this is incredible. I've loved NES music my whole life, and now you're telling me I can make some NES music, and all I have to do is use your template file? Oh my god. Tino. And so that was where I started the idea. Like, all right. So I started making my own NES music, and eventually, I didn't know what the limitations were on the NES. I just knew it sounded kind of like NES, right? Yeah, it sounds 8-bit. But I managed to get a hold of Vert on AIM Instant Messenger, which was not the messenger we used here in Canada. We used ICQ and then MSN. No one used AIM. None. But I found out his contact on AIM, and I harassed him. I said, Vert, what's up, buddy? And I was just spamming him all the tracks I was making. He's like, yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty good. You know, you're using too many square samples, though. I'm like, what? Yeah, the NES only had 2 squares playing at once. I'm like, yeah, but why would we want to, like, limit ourselves? Like, why would I do that when I have ModPlug and have as many channels as you want? Like, my instant reaction was like, add as many square waves as you want. He's like, all right, fair enough. We were also using a lot of volume gradients that the NES couldn't do, like smooth volume gradients. NES can't do that, buddy. NES could only do 4-bit volume gradients, and the NES sound chip was only 4-bit. Did you know that, everybody? 8-bit console, 4-bit audio chip, which means if you want to have a smooth gradient, if you zoom right in on it with a monocle, it actually looks like a bunch of steps that go like this. So the volume will go this volume, then down, this volume, then down, this volume, down. And that's the only volume gradient you're going to get. Not a smooth one, like with a fader. So he tipped me off on that. I'm like, oh my god. But the one thing that he told me that just broke my brain and really changed the way I wrote NES music, he was like, yeah, also, yeah, your bass line there, the triangle wave, the triangle is usually used for the bass in most NES games, unless you're a Sierra game or usually like a casino game would be like, hey, get that triangle wave to start doing a 6 solo. And it never really sounded right to me. Probably because the triangle wave has one unique feature. Unlike being able, it can't be volume gradients like the 4-bit square waves, because to create a triangle wave, you have to actually use all of those volume gradients to create literally a spike on the screen. If you're looking at the waveform, that's why they call it a triangle wave, but it's done with little tiny stairs. And so you need those stairs to make the volume. At least that's how I understood it. Anyway, so what this means is that the triangle wave, the bass in your track, can only ever be on or off. Nothing in between. That's really distinct, because I actually use that in a lot of my... I don't just make chiptunes, everyone. I make a lot of stuff. Modern stuff, whatever you got, orchestral, ambient, whatever the hell you got, I'm doing it. But I always think in the back of my mind, if I want my track to sound punchy, like an NES game, you damn well better curtail that bass volume release. Like when you're done hitting the note and let go, it should stop right away. That way you get a nice punchy bass line. Yeah, now I can start putting in all these notes everywhere. Not like boom, boom. So, you know, a lot of stuff does use a bass that does trail off like that, but it's more ambient stuff. It's not like this. It's not like that at all. Okay? So, if you want your stuff to sound punchy, you gotta start fiddling with the bass. The bass is where it all starts. That's where the punchiness starts. So, you start writing some punchy bass lines. You start making drums that sort of go along. You know, they call it a rhythm section for a reason. Those drums are looking at the bass player going like, what are we doing? We got to keep these goddamn wanky guitar players in line. You and me, we got to be in lockstep here. So you get your drums to start hitting all the same beats as the drums, or your bass to hit all the same beats as the drums. You think about like a Meshuggah track? That's the way Meshuggah does it all the time. Every time the kick drum hits, there's like a guitar strum. Shadow Master 7 Music. Hi, Matt. Get in here, buddy. We got some livestreams in here. I got no chat on the screen today, everyone, because I'm going to edit this into a YouTube video, but I will still respond to all you lovable rascals. Glad you know what the frick you're talking about. This is way over my head. Well, don't worry, because, Desi, what we're going to do is we're going to hear it now and see it at the same time. I know I've done this before, but I never really done it with this in mind. With Prison City out, I'm just going to fix the camera because it is literally sitting on a roll of tape, and there's this much. It could just fall down right in the middle. We don't need that. All right. And with that, a mighty cheer. What up? For the heroes of Shelbyville. They had banished you off of Lemon Tree forever because it was haunted. Now let's all celebrate with a cool glass of turnip juice. All right, Wesley, get the hell in here. Glad you're here. Robocopping out of your mind. Okay. Now with that, let me actually open up Mod Plug Tracker. Now, when I was starting with Mod Plug Tracker, it was 20 years ago. This program, application, I don't know what the nomenclature is, but this thing has been around for 20 years, and it's always been free. And this is what it looks like. Desi especially. Take a look. All right, so this is how you make music in a tracker. Not sideways like a music staff. No, down like the Matrix. It's like you're looking at a spreadsheet, and the time is up and down. So when you go down, you're going down beats of the song. And every one of these little guys here, in these columns, like it's hard for you to tell right here, but the dark navy blue ones here, F sharp 3, C sharp 5, F sharp 5, those are the note values. Then the instrument is the one next to it, the 1, and the V64 here is the volume, and this whole column here is for any modulation effects. So A, you got some vibrato? Well, for some reason, H is vibrato, and 4 is the intensity of the vibrato, so how much it's wiggling, like string bends. And the 2 is how fast it's gonna wiggle. So there's that. There's also E10 here is a pitch bend down. So if you slide down 2 frets on a guitar, that would be a note slide down. Or if you have an F, which we have a lot of Fs in there somewhere, that's note slide up. That's basically all I did. So it looks like a lot, but it is really simple stuff. The little equals line here is actually a release that's baked into my sample. So I'll show you guys also what we did here. I had to make my own samples for this project because there are trackers that can create NES music, but to create the most authentic NES music in this tracker, you got to get a little clever with it. So what we did here, can I actually play these? So see, I'm holding the button down right now, and the white line just stays right there, but when I let go, it goes through the rest of this, which is a volume envelope. So the higher this is, the higher the volume. The lower it is, the lower the volume, and left and right, in this case, is time. Watch what happens when I let go. So it has built into it a little volume off, but not much. And this is an attempt to sort of follow 8-bit, where it's like, or what 4-bit, sorry, 4-bit audio means. I can only have at most 16 volume or levels here. So this is every 8, whatever. You don't have to understand. But up and down wise here, each one of these dots is only going in increments of 8 and no more. All right, that way we can kind of simulate what the NES cutoff sounds like. Now, I had to create all my own square samples to create this music. And in this case, this would be a 50% duty cycle. And they call it 50% because if you look really close, all right, that's enough of that. It's halfway up, and then it has to slow down, and then it's halfway on the bottom. So the middle line, it's half of it's on the top, half of it's on the bottom. 50. Now, there's basically 4 different... You know, every NES tune ever was created with the same 4 instruments. It's like, imagine if every song in the 80s had to be created with only 4 sounds. Like, all right, well, you have this amazing instrument, but you can only have 4 instruments at a time. What? Yeah, but then imagine if that went on for 8 years. By the end of those 8 years, all the composers would have come up with all sorts of crazy techniques to be like, all right, well, we only got these 4 instruments. How do we sound distinct? How is it possible that Shatterhand is using all the same instruments as Legend of Zelda and Mario 1? It doesn't make any sense. Why do you have 7 channels? NES can only do 5. Oh, don't worry, Shadow Master. All will be explained. It goes to a reason why I use ModPlug instead of something like FamiTracker, which will make sure you adhere to those limitations. All right, so let's just quickly go in here. Here's all my instruments here. V0 here. Let's just say what is V0, Rad? V0 is a 12% duty cycle. So if you'll note here, 12% of it's up, and the other whatever amount is down. That's your 12% duty cycle. Now, that sounds like Rygar. Believe it or not, Rygar was created only using 12% duty cycles. The whole soundtrack. It's one of the only ones that did that. Rygar 1987. So, then we have a, what is this, a 20% duty cycle, which I believe to be the workhorse of the NES. All right, what do I want? I want 20%. All right, boom. That's, or 25% up, 75% down. Now, they do have an inverse where there's 75% up and 25% down, but functionally, they sound very similar to our ears, especially in the music. I think, someone is going to have to correct me on this, I think that the 75% was sometimes used in sound effects in the hopes that, like, in NES music, you never want to play 2 of the exact same square wave playing the exact same note at the exact same time, because it just doubles the sound and makes it buzzy and sounding awful. One of the ways they got around this was they would detune it. They'd say, like, all right, how about one of you go down a bit and the other one go up? And that makes actually a pretty nice sound. But it still does sometimes double up the volume. So with sound effects, I think they're like, oh, what if we make it all 75% duty cycle, and then the music is in the 25% range? All right, that'll kind of help it so they don't do it all together. Can you play the FF1 theme? You mean like the prelude? I probably can't play it by ear, but I can hum it for you. No, actually, I can't even hum it for you. I used to be able to play it on guitar, Wessie. All right, easy. Alto sax, stadium-gated drums, face-melting guitar, and FM bass. Hey, that's just a recipe for a good time. Am I right? Now, let me show you guys also. We're going to edit this in YouTube after, so it's going to make a lot more sense. But let me also show you guys what the triangle wave actually looks like here, because this is some nutty stuff. You see what I was saying about how it's literally a stair step down. Bump, 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 bump. And if you count them, there's 16 in there. That's your 4-bit audio right there. So to create this triangle wave, the sound chip on the NES basically says, all right, well, forget volume. We just got to make sure we're using all of these steps just to create, like, volume, the 4-bit. We're using all 4 bits just to create this shape. We can't do any volume with it anymore. I'm sorry about that. All right. Now, one other thing here. A triangle wave sounds like this, by the way. So this is what all those casino games... But if you play it lower... And I have to play this on a keyboard. I haven't actually touched ModPlug since I finished the soundtrack, which was a good 2 months ago, so I'm a little rusty, all right? But you can do some neat stuff here. Let me show you. In the early days of the NES, so we're talking Koji Kondo playing Mario on NES, writing the music for Mario. There's, like, no volume gradients at all in Mario. It's a boop, 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 boop. There's no, like... Nothing like that. And same with Zelda, largely. It was just a product of the time. They didn't consider, why would we use volume for these games? Like, at least in any complicated manner. They're using them very archaically. Okay, but to start creating some texture with your NES music, you could start, say, adding volume. So you'll notice what I'm doing here with my square wave channels here. Oh, by the way, just so Shadow Master doesn't get out of control. The noise and the... Okay. I do kick and snare in one... You'll just have to take my word for it. I don't hit the kick and the snare at the same time. But these two channels here, the kick and the snare... Let's see if I can make this bit. Kick and snare... Oh, I don't have my arm in here. They exist only as one channel, DPCM, on the NES. But what I did, I separated them so I could visually look at it and make some sense of it. Rage and Mage, goddamn, you gotten subscribed. All right, well, we'll get you partied up in a second. I'm going to edit all this stuff for YouTube. I got all the alerts done, or off the screen, but don't you worry. You got to resub to get back in the producer's chat. Rage and Mage did it. All right, well, we're definitely going to get you subbed up. But yeah, I'm going to edit this one down for a YouTube video later. So I turned off all the alerts and all the distractions, but don't you worry, we are going to still celebrate, and then I'll edit that out later. It'll be a special message just for you. All right, so let's play just the kick and the snare. You can see how they're not hitting at the same time. So visually, this makes me see where does the kick hit and where does the snare hit. And that's way more easy when you're writing a bass line to be like, all right, kicks are here, snares are here. It's just a visual thing, Shadow Master. The other thing is, I have this channel here, channel 7. It's just it doesn't make any sound. Look, I can turn it on. What the hell's going on here? Oh, well, it gave you the resub anyways. It was just way late. There's no animation for it, but that'll goddamn play. No text to speech? All right. So you can see this one doesn't make any sound. It's just quiet. And I've in the past had... What the hell? Is it doing it again? Oh, God, is it glitched? Oh, my God. All right, that might be glitched, and I'm going to have to fix it in post. It's just going to keep doing it. All right. I don't know what that... There's a bug that makes it do that over and over and over again.
That'll play.
You see what I'm dealing with here, everyone? I think... I don't even know where it's playing, because we don't have any alerts here. All right, well, just push pause on this, everyone. We're going to have to go and find out where is that sound effect coming from. I think it's coming from Streamlabs, or is it Stream Elements? No, Streamlabs. Streamlabs.com. I don't know what the hell your problem is, Streamlabs. Come on, this is going to be sick, right? No. Wow, we're getting so many followers tonight. You ever had anyone have this problem before? Anyone, take your pick. All right, alert box.
That'll play.
Really hammering home there, Rage and Mage. Test subscription. All right, I tested it now. Stop it.
That'll play.
Does feel nice to have people just cheering nonstop. Oh, thank you so much.
This is a test.
All right. God damn it, now I have no idea how to fix it. I'm gonna have to basically go in and disable it completely.
That'll play.
Unlimited alert moderation delay.
This is a test.
No, that's not it. Wait, so now the test is just going nonstop? All right, maybe that was it. No, I think this one is Rage and Mages.
That'll play.
Don't you worry, iBlink. I disabled those ones. All right, maybe what I got to do is go in here. All right, that one is Rage and Mage because it doesn't say test. All right, let me just go to one of these and then All right, maybe it just needed to be like, oh, it's off. Oh. Thank you, Streamlabs. All right, back we go. Prison City out on consoles now. All right, mod plug time. What the hell? We might as well get you subbed up right now. Well, we already have the delay here. Let's get this going. I appreciate that, Rage and Mage. That means you're in the fold for real. For really real. Hold on. We have a special song to play when this happens. This is a new member to the fold. This is outrageous. This is unprecedented. This is our lives. This is our lives. This is our lives. Oh, you did it, Rage and Mage! You guys did it!
Money cannot buy the honor which is bestowed tonight. Go ahead, Rage and Mage. Go ahead and take a look. That nipple hair just got 1 inch longer. Oh, you did it! You're a man! Man! Oh, don't do this. Don't do this, everyone. Alright, let's celebrate the right way. Rage and Mage. Lightning bolt. Lightning bolt. Young Street, get near, buddy. Hey, where's that Swizzler? Alright, it feels good. Alright, you can't go wrong. Alright, we do have alerts here.
For a brief window, we do have alerts. Alright. If I give you the shorty emote, will you swizzle it? Not today, Young Street. Because I'm already working on a Frankenstein version of my my rig tonight. I'm not using my typical template. My Cubase is open up with a different one. An actual Prison City project that I had to recreate my whole template in just so I could open that later. Because that's where we're going with this, everyone. We're going to actually check out the music from where it started and where I took it. And we're going to have direct comparisons. And we're going to have a great time. Especially a great time now. All right. Party time. Thank you for that, Rage and Mage. I'm looking forward to seeing you over on the Discord. By the way, everyone, the Discord's out of control. Any one of you rascals who's not over on that Discord right now, just know it hurts my feelings. That Discord is popping off. We're having a great time. All right? All right. That's the one. All right. So, yeah, Shadow Master, who may have already left, said, the hell with this. This guy's using too many extra channels. The reason I opt to use mod plug instead of, say, Family Tracker, which makes NES music compilable, you can actually put it on a cart, is because for me, if there's a roadblock or a stumbling block or something in the way of the creative process, I get really discouraged. I don't know if other people are like this. Maybe it's why there's not as many creative people on the planet, like, because it's really hard to maintain that buzz. You guys ever drive home from work or something, or somewhere where you have to do a long drive and you're in your car and you're just getting pumped up for like to create something on the way home, like, yeah, when I'm gonna go there, I'm gonna record a whole YouTube series about how the bass lines for NES were out of their mind. Oh man, I'm gonna do it when I get home. I'm gonna do it. And then as soon as you get home, you're just like, that whole ride was in the way. Everything was in the way. I'm still here, so Shadow Master. Okay, good. So for me, Shadow Master, Family Tracker is the ultimate boner killer. I just can't write NES music with it. Now, I understand the limitations of the NES, but I need to get my ideas out faster. Because if there's anything, you got to imagine they're spilling out of my brain so fast. And if I have to clean it up or if I have to do something to it before I can just splatter it all over the place, then those ideas, they get lost in time, like tears in rain or like farts in the wind. And I don't want my ideas to float away, all right? I want to keep them bottled up, save them for later, sell them on eBay when I get famous. This one, oh, this vintage 20-year-old fart. Never been opened. Oh, the visuals, all right? Never driven home from work, says D King. All right, never had a job. I also work from home, but I do go to dodgeball on occasion, and on my drive home from dodgeball, I'm like, when I get home, I'm going to make this thing. It's going to be sick. Then I get home, like, No. That's why I love doing busy work. Like, oh, yeah. You know what I will do? I'll organize my files. That's way more fun for me. My phone's in my pockets, driving me nuts. Anyway, so what I did, Shadow Master, we showed the people earlier. I'm not sure if you were watching, but I created my own sample library in Family Tracker. Look at all these samples I created in Family Tracker and ported them over to ModPlug just because this program, for me, allows me to get my ideas down faster. Well, for some reason, it's auto placing them in different places. But anyways, I'll show you one that was a big one for me. Boom, boom. I made my own noise instrument where I sampled every one of the noise. I can't tell. I'm not an expert in NES architecture either. I just know the way it sounds. So the NES had basically 16 different noise rates, data rates. I'm not sure. So those are the following. Those are that's it. So usually we would use noise for sound effects or for cymbals. And in my case, I use them for cymbals and also like transition sounds. You know, like the dance, all the DJs would be like, all right, we got to drop the bass. So we're going to go. and then the bass drops. So I use the same technique here. Let me turn these up because that was the problem here. Well, that's right. All right, well, the hell with it. Anyways, how do you deal with writer's block? That's a great question. Whenever I have writer's block, one of the things, you just need to hear it. When you're writing a track, especially with chiptunes, there's nothing more fickle than writing a chiptune. That's another reason why it's like, if I'm going to write these at all, I have to have no barriers to entry. And so what I like to do is, if you're on a roll, write as much as you can. Don't worry about the song structure. Don't worry about anything. Just write it. And sometimes I'll even write it over the same channel. I'll write tons of extra stuff. And then if I like a part, but I'm on a roll still, I'll drag that part to the side and write some more stuff. And then when you have all those little bits, those little, they're like tools or puzzle pieces or power-ups in a video game. And then when you get stuck later on, you're like, why don't I just drag that one back in, see what it sounds like? And since you wrote them all at the same time, they all come from like the same nucleus. And sometimes they'll configure right in. Like, I don't know, some sort of robotic Frankenstein. But writer's block is real, and when you don't have any pieces and when nothing's going good, starting a project is usually when I get the most writer's block. Starting an entire project, once you've got a couple songs in, you kind of know how to start each track, but the very beginning of a project's always the hardest, and you have all these doubts. You're like, frick, I suck at writing music. Oh God, and eventually, when you get the first little, as a musician. For me, self-taught musician, I don't have any music theory to fall back on, but I do have ears and music theory that are separate, and sometimes they go they're like a Beyblade battle. Cling, 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 but they don't mesh. They just hit each other sometimes, and when they do, sometimes you can hear a note ahead, and you get these ideas like, oh! I've been playing Beyblade with my 5-year-old son recently, if you can tell. Anyways, so sometimes a good technique to get out of writer's block or start a project is to just leave a bass line go. Now, actually, you know what? Why don't I just show you some of my... Fine. Let's, first of all, everyone, debut a track. I don't think it's the power plant level. I think this one's from the factory called Flip the Switch. But I changed the titles here, so don't read that up there. But let's play you the track from Prison City as it was written initially. Now, what I did with this project, I didn't just want to write NES music again. I've been doing that for 20 years. I feel like I've said all I need to say with NES music, and I'm happy with my entire body of work. Norrin Rad, the chiptune composer, was laid to rest. Welcome, Matt Creamer / Radland. So Radland here was just like, all right, I know how to make chiptunes. I've been doing it for 20 years, but I want to do something else. But you cannot dink around with the sacred configuration of NES music and have it still be nostalgic. If you so much as dink around Quantum Player 1 behind the music, yeah, if you dink around, welcome in Quantum, by the way, if you dink around with things like the panning, did you guys know all Nintendo music was mono? Mono. Right down the middle. Both channels playing the exact same thing. Do you know on your Nintendo, you actually only have a white and a yellow chord or whatever? You don't have the 3 RCA ones. One audio channel goes in. That's it. So if you were getting the clever idea like, oh, you got 2 square waves, why don't I just pan them left and right like you would a guitar? Stop it! Oh, I don't have the sounds. All right. In post, we'll add it. Stop! Don't you dare separate those squares, because if you do, all that lovely, nostalgic modulation and harmonation, whatever, all the little things that those two are doing in mono gets ripped apart like Sophie's Choice. Ah! Wait, no, nothing ripped them. Oh, whatever. You have to choose a child if you want to be mono. You can't have both separate like that, because then they don't harmonize the same way. Like, if you guys ever heard, I don't know, like a power chord in like a Konami game, and you're like, yeah, that sounds heavy. Try separating those square waves. See how great it sounds. It does not have the same power anymore. So I wanted to write the NES music again, but I wanted to do something extra after the fact. So I wanted to keep the NES music together, almost like its own instrument. Like, here's the guitar. Now I need a band. Don't touch that. That stays right there, all mono, in the middle. I'm going to add some extra goofy crap over here. Don't mind what I'm doing. But I had to be really careful when I was adding stuff, because like Shadow Master's here saying like, hey, you got extra channels there. You can really screw with people's nostalgia and enjoyment of the project. And you'll get like a lot of people that go like, that's not right. That sounds like garbage. So what I had to do was keep all those little Nintendo authenticity tricks, all the protocols in my mind, and start carefully adding stereo elements on top of it in a digital audio workstation after the fact. And so we're going to get to that. But first, let me just show you how I wrote the tracks. This was step 1, write an NES track, then bring it into Cubase and make it a modern track. So let's hear Flip the Switch as it was originally written. Never heard before, by the way, everyone. Never heard before, because the games version is the Cubase version, not this version. All right, and that's the whole track. You're right, Young Street. It does look like the games list. Well, the other technique here is when I first started writing chiptunes in this format, I would write them way slower. Look at the BPM on this thing. 300 BPM. Ah! That's out of control. And it goes higher than that. It goes up to 900, I think. This fader goes all the way up. I would write things at like a third of this speed, and as a result, the thing would be moving much slower. But that would mean that the notes would be closer together. So, hey, these two notes here would probably be right next to each other, like row by row. And, hey, Forgotten King, get the hell in here. The problem with that is if you have your notes together and it's the same tempo, but the notes are just closer together, you can't put anything between them anymore. Ah, that sucks. Because guess what? I learned this by analyzing thousands, literally thousands of NES tracks. What the hell? Forgotten King, all right, you're on the guest list. It's probably going to hose around. Let's see if that loops itself over and over again.
That'll play.
It is going to.
That'll play.
I don't know why it has to be this way, but I think if we go here, bing, it'll fix it. Thank you for that, Forgotten King. That'll be a fun thing to contend with tonight, everyone. Ugh. All right, where was I? Mod plug. All right. We got a lot to talk about. That'll goddamn play. What is your favorite song on this soundtrack? I would probably say, that's a tough one. I like every song on the soundtrack. You know what I say my advice is to young composers? If your favorite song of all time is not the track you're currently working on, you're doing it wrong. You got to find a way. But you know what? That does take a piece of your soul. You got to put a piece of your soul in every one of the tracks for that to be the case. Unfortunately for me, I don't know how to turn that off. So every track I've ever written at the time is my favorite track I've ever written. I'll listen to it on loop for hours at a time. Like, yeah. Even if it's not a genre or a game that I would normally write music for on my own. Like if it's a project that I wouldn't have written on my own, I still am like, yeah. So it's hard to tell. Each one of these was my baby at one point. But now, when you look back at it, it's hard to tell. It's hard to pick a favorite. I'll try for you, though. Give me a second. I'll definitely try and pick one out. Yes. So, analyzing thousands of NES tracks, I realized, hey, you know Iku Mizutani from Shatterhand, you know what he was doing to get such a smooth, echoey sound in his tracks? He was, the speed that his tracks were going was mile a minute, as fast as you possibly go, and the notes are even further apart than mine. You'll see, like, I don't know if these are quarter notes or 16th notes, but that's only 4 rows apart. His would be like 8 rows apart, or sometimes weird, like 7 or 6 or something, which I find really hard to keep track of. But the reason you would do that is so that you could add extra stuff in between. We're talking texture here. So Mario 1, Zelda, even Metroid, I think, all like the 1986-ish NES games, they had no texture in between notes. It was basically like you're playing on a Hammond organ. Boop, 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 boop. Like you couldn't do anything that was texture. So the way I like to picture it is like a big block of clay. You got a big rectangle of clay sitting on the desk in front of you, and that's it. That's what you submit to your art teacher for art class. And they're like, it's very good, Timmy. This is a good statement on modern society. But what they started doing in the NES world was they started carving away. So you have maximum volume, notes on full blast, and then eventually what people started doing is like, all right. let's start carving away little volume bits. That'll be sick. And that was the first thing they started doing was like volume envelopes. So instead of just beep, bop, it'd be like, bam, bam, bam. And you get like a nice little, you just get more texture. And what Mega Man 3 started doing by the end was like, hey, Mega Man was like outrageous at this. Why don't we hit the note full blast and then cut the volume really quickly? Cut it! And then bring it back immediately. So there's just a split second of no volume after the note is hit. It goes, and it starts giving it this texture that is very distinct to Mega Man. And so when you start analyzing all these NES tracks, you're like, technique learned. And so this game is a culmination of a lot of techniques that I've learned. Shadow Master with the Tino. God damn it. You guys are making me want to put the alerts back on. All right, I owe you one. What do you got? Alerts. Don't you worry, Shadow Master. We're going to get you Tino'd out of your mind. You're like, where's my Tino? I don't want Shadow Master to not get a Tino. He just got here. I'll play with Rad. Fine, you guys win. Do not abuse Dan or I will abuse you. Mod plug, boom. Boom. All right. And Tino is as follows. Oh man, he looking fine. 1984 Latin pop star Tino. Get with it. All right. We're going all over the place. Trust me, I'm going to edit this so it makes perfect sense in post. Right now, we're a little haggard up. So, you know what I wanted to show you, Shadow Master, while you're here? You'll notice these are my patterns up here. All these little boxes I'm clicking. But what's this? 3 lines? That's where the song ends. And it says basically just loop everything on this side of the lines. But what's all this extra stuff? Those are patterns that I wrote that I didn't use. Let's take a quick listen now. These could be 100% hosed. I haven't heard these in a long time. Pattern number 1. I'm on 148 over here, so this is old. I don't even know what the hell this is. Very close. I like this bass line. I like that. And that eventually turned into... yeah. So far, these sound very similar to the ones that are in the track. Well, that's one thing that's really hard about writing in a tracker. Shadow, you were asking, man, why using those extra channels, bro? Because when you're writing in a chiptune, you have to account for your own echo notes. Let's see if I can find a good echoey part of this track so I can show you guys. Oh, you know what? This is a good example of that Capcom sound. Check this out. This is Mega Man's carving away texture. You know what I might as well do? Why don't I copy this, duplicate the pattern, remove texture, rad. Let me show you guys the difference here. I think it sounds awful and you get rid of all the texture. I'm going to leave the echo notes in there, but I'm going to remove this technique. So the 8s here are echo notes. You'll notice how F#6 plays at a 48 volume here, and then plays again down here at an 8 volume. That's the echo of that note. You have to hand enter all these goddamn echo notes. And so when you get to the end of a pattern, say the last note in the pattern, this one's got to echo somewhere. Well, guess what, Buster? It's going to echo somewhere in the next channel. And so sometimes you have to account for echo notes in different patterns. So it gets really hard to keep track of where everything is. Actually, I noticed at the end there, that note did not echo in the next pattern. What kind of amateur hour goofball garbage is this? All right, I'm only going to do the first half of this pattern like this, and then, and only then, will you guys be able to get a good sense of what this is. So here's the sound, basically. I'm going 48 to 32, so that's a little volume down, and then hard cut to 12, and then back up to 32. So that basically, that gives it a oop, oop, and we're going to remove all of that good stuff up to 128. All right, 121 and an 8. And I couldn't find the place. Name that movie. All right, we got 2 sections here. Take a listen. Texture. Yeah, there you go, right? I blink, you're like, that does sound like the Mega Man sound. I think you were describing the Gemini Man theme. I'm sure they used it in Gemini Man, but I know for sure they use it in Magnet Man, where it's... You know what I'm talking about? All right. So that's one technique. All right. So you guys hear that? That's cool to hear that, right? And then you have the echo notes, obviously. You can hear those. Well, let's just demonstrate the echo notes here. C#7. You hear these echoes? Now, those echoes, right around 1987 to 88, I think that's when all the NES composers were like, oh my god, we got this secret technique here. Hey, we only got 3 melodic channels to dink around with here, and one of them can't have any volume, so the square, or the triangle wave's out. We only got 2 square waves. And I always picture these 2 square waves like 2 guitar players. Like the Exodus Toxic Waltz soundtrack or music video. Guitar players standing back to back, and they're just getting out of their mind. Or Iron Maiden, where they're like, all right, just have them play a third apart. Everything, a third apart. That'll be sick. Dual guitars. Anyways, I forgot what I was actually saying. What the hell was I even talking about? All right, so these echo notes. The problem with the NES composers that they were facing was they could only hit, basically, it's like they're playing a song with 2 fingers. That's all they could play. Oh, God! And so if you want those 2 notes or those echoes give you a smoothness that, say, Mario 1, Zelda, all the early NES games like 87 and before, they didn't really have. But they gave you a smoothness that almost sounded like more modern. Oh, man, like we have depth. Smoothness. Like Mega Man games were out of their mind with smoothness. But I think the king of smoothness was Iku Mizutani from the Shatterhand soundtrack. I don't know what the hell he was doing. He's working on another goddamn level with these echo notes, where he would have echo notes. He would have this C7 echo like 20 rows later somewhere, and it just sounded amazing. I have no idea what his rhyme or reason was. I'm pretty sure he designed or developed his own sound engine that just did it all automatically. All us lovely chiptune composers now have to do it by hand, which is for lunatics. But Tino is the king of smooth. That's right. Well, he's hairless. You know, he can't help it. He's sensitive about it. But he's owning it. He cuts through the wind so well. You should see him swim. He's like a dolphin. Oh, man. What was I saying? Anyways, so the echo notes are away. Instead, what you would do if you had infinite channels on your hand, you'd be like, all right, why don't I just take this whole row, and I want it to always echo, like an echo effect in like a modern application. So why don't I just add another channel and echo the whole thing down 4 rows? And now when this note hits, bink, 4 rows later, this one will hit, bink, and it'll do that for every note. Well, guess what, Buster? We only have 2 channels to work with. You can't use a whole channel for that. You can sometimes do that. Usually that would be done for like cave levels. Mega Man would, I don't know if Mega Man would do it. You think like, actually Batman level 1. Batman from Sunsoft, level 1. They're like, all right, we really want this to sound like a guitar player that's just playing with a ton of reverb. So take Square Wave 1, take Square Wave 2, and literally do this. We call it poor man's reverb, where you just copy it and paste it in the other channel. A riff so good, it needed 2 Square Wave channels. But if you do that, you lose all that potential for melodic content. You can't harmonize with yourself. It's just for echoes. So all these NES composers were getting clever. They're like, why don't we just add the echo notes in the same channel? And then what you do is you come up with a priority. All right, let me, did I delete this thing? Yeah, okay. You come up with a little priority here. So my volume, we'll say volume is the priority for me. All right, a 48 takes maximum priority. That's my highest level volume in this whole instrument. 48, priority. If there's a note being hit at 48, that one gets priority. When you get down to 30, you're like, all right, that's like my, you know, that still gets priority. It's somewhere down there. But 12, that doesn't have priority. No one cares about 12. So as the volume gradients keep going down, eventually there's a part where the echo note takes priority over the further volume envelope going down. So you have to start looking like, where's the priority for me to start adding these echo notes? And that's where Iku Mizutani probably created a sound engine where he's like, priority. Just this is where there's no priority. Whatever notes were hit before, just bring them down automatically. We don't have that. Sunsoft was so good at echo. I think of Blaster Master. I can't recall the Blaster Master soundtrack right now. You know what? But maybe I'll just do it right now. Maybe that's what this become, because I got time on my hands, everyone. We're gonna edit. Wait, you guys shouldn't see this. Files? No, you will see nothing. Love Blaster Master. All right, let me open up my actual video games music folder, which is actually what it's titled. And we'll just... let's go Haley's Comet Software, because it's alphabetical, easy to look at. Blaster Master. And then I'll add Batman as well. For some reason, Sunsoft was deranged for B names. You know what? I'm going to drag it in, because it'll erase my playlist if I don't drag it in right now. I've done something silly to my goddamn Winamp, and I haven't fixed it yet. All right, now also Batman. Let me first play you Batman, because I mentioned it. Sunsoft was really great B tier NES games. They did quite a lot with the B tier, the double A's, you know? Double A batteries. All right, Batman level 1, I think this is it. Both square waves here, everyone, playing at the same time for this sick guitar riff. Poor man's reverb. For the whole song. You're right, Shadow Master. Neil Baldwin was on another level with the echoes. He would write nothing but echoes. Did you ever hear his Eric the Viking soundtrack? Mind-boggling. These drums are out of control, too. The whole Batman soundtrack is completely out of control, and the game is hard as frick. Shred! Alright, those drums are out of control. Let me also show you guys, while we're on Batman, and then we'll do Blaster Master. Maybe Neil Baldwin too, what do I care? Let me show you the boss track from Batman. Power chords, right? There's something... NES power chords are the hardest thing to get right. Not the hardest, but you'd go in thinking, like, just transcribe a power chord, it'll work fine. Stop it! That's not the way it works. You really gotta finesse these things. Sometimes you have to play them inverted, just to make them sound like a power chord. I think this is probably note for note. They got lucky. Like, it sounds pretty heavy, but I'm telling you, it's not as heavy as it could sound. But it sounds great. This was definitely something I didn't directly reference, but as soon as I saw Programmancer's Prison City, I knew the boss battle in the first level, like on the train, I was like, that reminds me a lot of that boss battle in Batman level 2, where there's like the purple outline and shooting the missiles at you or the lasers or whatever. I'm like, that really reminds me of that. So I just thought, like, the boss battle has to kind of sound like that. And by the way, thank you, Shadow, for saying your favorite track was the second boss theme. Like the second boss theme, main bad guy boss theme. Final boss is what I'm trying to say. So let's hear the boss theme from... I've never actually heard these back-to-back, but I do recall them sounding similar, at least in my memory. This is the boss theme from Prison City. I wanted it to be very bitey, like their power chord. I like getting really chaotic with a boss battle. Check this out. This part here. That's heavy. Well, there you go. God damn, that's heavy. Let me just directly compare these again. I've never done this. I'm kind of fascinated by it myself. Where the hell did I drag Batman? Yeah, Batman, just get down here then. You know, in direct comparison, they don't actually sound that similar to me. That's some weird and wild stuff. So let's check out Blaster Master real quick. Because our good iBlink, who's currently playing through every Nintendo game in chronological order, not alphabetical order, chronological order of their release date. So you must have just played Blaster Master recently because it's fresh in your mind. Or it just could be one of your favorites. I know Desi was also saying, love Blaster Master. Let's hear if Blaster Master has a buttload of echoes. Poor man's reverb right away. I'm about to go Blaster Master this weekend. All right, well, everyone keep your eye on iBlink for that. What's the series called, iBlink? I cannot remember. All right, I'll make it really simple for you, Mr. Crusher. Either you tell everyone what happened, or I will. Either you click on that Desi or that iBlink link, or I will. All right, shout out, given. All right, hold on. We got to find a really ripper. This is the first level, right? All right, well, you know, it doesn't strike me as very echoey right here. There's actually a lot of, like, direct harmonies. But that first, the intro track was all Poor Man's Reverb. Oh, here we go. Yeah, there's some echo going on here. You know, there was a really good interview with Hidenori Maezawa. I think that's his name. H. Maezawa is what I know him as, the composer for Contra, where he actually talked about, in Contra was like the first time he was like, that's where we started doing echoes, and it was all in Japanese, and it was translated, but you could see him literally go, da 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 da. Oh, I know what you're doing! I know that! It's like a guy who wrote the Bible. I'm like, what? Like seeing a guy who wrote the Bible be like, explaining it to you. No way, man. While we're here, you know, I didn't think it was going to turn into this, but now we're going to listen to Booby Kids. I just saw that in the list there. No, we won't listen to Booby Kids, but that is a great name for a game. What should we name our game? Yeah, I got it. Booby Kids. Miyagi smile. Right at you. I want to kind of show you guys Rygar, because at the start of the stream, I'm going to edit it together. Rygar's probably the only NES game that I know of that only used 12% duty cycle. Only one. It's non-stop. Listen to this. It's a 12% fest. And no triangle wave at all. I don't even know if it had drums. You know what they would do with all that hot extra channel action? They're like, sound effects. 12%. Hear how nasally it is? That's what I think of whenever I think of 12% duty cycle. Hey! What the hell's going on around here? I owned this game back in the day. I remember beating it without the Game Genie once. Just completely blew my mind. Last level scared the hell out of me. Something about shadow enemies and one... Why don't I just play you the end level song? This one. I was in grade 2 when this came out. This song scared the goddamn hell out of me. There's a lot of echo going on here, but it's not necessarily the echo I'm talking about. Now, let me show you guys the echo I am talking about. We're going to go to my boy. We're going to go to my boy, Iku Mizutani. This guy was on another level. He's still writing music today, if I recall, for video games. After this era, he did the Power Rangers soundtrack for Super Nintendo. He also eventually got into doing like Game Boy Advanced or Game Boy Color tracks. This guy was absolutely out of his mind. He wrote the book on echoes, 1991. As far as I'm concerned, listen how frickin' smooth this is. And heavy. And notice how his drums sound like garbage. But it works. Well, you can hear it in this one. Let me just isolate the squares only. It's mostly right before a note, the next note, you can hear the echo. Let me see if I can slow it down. Hear how there was that little blip there? I don't know what the hell that is, but you need to have your song going at like 900 BPM just to achieve this effect. So what he's actually doing, what I think this was all leading to, is we wanted more articulation in the NES music. Because, hey, all of us have been doing the same 4 sounds for the last 8 years, or however long the NES life cycle was. We got to do something to stand apart from the rest of them. I don't know if that was even a mandate, if there was like some Japanese businessman that came in with a suit on and said, hey, all this NES music has to sound awesome, or else I'm walking and taking this money and my project with me. And so there's all this pressure on the composers to make it sound awesome. I don't know if that was it. I just think they were not content. They were like pushing themselves in some crazy way. But that's too fast. Well, I want default speed, whatever it is. So when you put it all together, it almost sounds like guitar players play. That's the way I pictured it anyways. And so as a kid, one of the neat things about this was my first exposure to music was NES music. So I didn't hear rock and roll first. I heard the NES composer's interpretation of rock and roll first. That was my first exposure to almost every genre of music. Classical music, I didn't hear that first. I heard the NES composers doing classical music, attempting to anyways. All right, yeah, Iku Mizutani out of his mind now. We had a little request in the chat here. iBlink was like, is this Monster in My Pocket Final Battle? I don't know which one the final battle is, so I'll go check it out for you real quick. Then we'll dive back in, and we'll hear some other fun stuff. Actually, you know what I got to do first? Wait, no, we'll get yours loaded up here. Monster in My Pocket. That's why I was looking in the M's. I got sidetracked because I saw Mega Man 3. I'm like, I might as well just play Mega Man's theme. Listen to those echoes. Hiroyuki Iwatsuki is one of the composers that inspired me to do chiptunes. Shadowmaster, I can't remember if I've heard your chiptunes before. Link them right here. I'm giving you full permission. Give me a link. Link me. Come on. Link me. Link me. I need the links. I might not check it out right at this second, but I will check it out before we go. And you're absolutely right. Hiroyuki Iwatsuki. If it's the guy I think of, because I always get him mixed up with, I think it's Hiroyuki Idaware. I can't remember that. H name with an I name. I can't remember which one's which, but if it's the guy I'm thinking of, super melodic. Outrageously melodic. Did he work with Iku Mizutani as well on a couple projects? I can't remember. I will tell you my favorite NES composer of all time, though, is Kenichi Matsubara, I think. Guy never gets enough credit. Simon's Quest, Roller Games, I'm pretty sure at least a track on Track and Field 2, Base Wars. That's good enough for me. Most of my chiptunes are unreleased. You gotta get them out there, buddy. Don't be sitting on that mountain of gold. Come on, buddy. Get them out there. Just put them on YouTube. Who cares? Come on. Come on. Come on. Alright. Let's hear Monster in My Pocket Final Battle. You'll have to tell me, iBlink, because I'm using NSFs here and they don't have the names. So this is a 1992 late, or 1991, late, still fairly late, NES title. And by 1991 and 92, the NES composers had developed like a Rolodex of techniques for NES composition that's like outrageous. What I'm trying to say is later NES titles, especially on Konami and Capcom, showcase what I consider to be some of the best produced NES music from technique standpoint. I was thinking about making fan music for Prison City. Oh, goddamn, that would be awesome. That's my favorite type of NES music, is raw, badass action music. I'd love to hear that. Mansion theme from Simon's Quest is phenomenal. Yes, it is. Also scared the hell out of me as a kid. I'm like, where's the enemies in this goddamn... Or are you talking about the one that sounds like, Yngwie Malmsteen? Living in the Prison City. I was gonna play it on your favorite instrument, but I'll spare you. You have to tell me when you hear it, iBlink. Poor man's reverb. That goddamn drum solo at the beginning. Alright, I have to take my shoes off. Hey! Wearing my shoes in the house like Seinfeld. That's not how I roll. My feet are sweating though. What's the deal with this track? What a wacky soundtrack. You know, I own this on NES and I'm planning on selling it on eBay soon. Selling some of my NES stuff. Probably not this one either. Nope. There's a ton of echo. This is poor man's reverb and echo at the same time, I think. So they're echoing in one channel and then echoing the whole thing in a separate channel. I'm looking at iBlink in the chat, everyone. Who's watching this on YouTube? What is it? Probably not a final boss track. It sounds like a final boss. There's definitely echo going on. Well, here, I'll show you. No echo as of yet. There you go. Listen to this. Damn it, just as that part ended. Anyways, yep, there's definitely a lot of echo there. But it didn't end there, everyone. Let's wrap it all back. Oh, goddammit. You know, for editing in the future, I'll also play Magnet Man's theme real quick. Oh, the intro to Mega Man 3. Does anything else get you as pumped up as this? So what, I find... Some people say I sound like Konami. They say, Rad's, usually in comments, they'll be like, sounds a lot like Konami. That's because I understand Konami songwriting so much more than Capcom songwriting. Capcom songwriting is next level frickanery. No one knows what the hell these guys are doing. Because they're hitting chords with only 2 notes. You can't hit a chord with 2 notes. Those are intervals. But they're hitting chords with 2 notes because they're constantly... They're playing like dual melodies and changing the chord live through the melody. Like there's genuine magic going on here that I can't understand. And sometimes I stumble onto it, like Shadow Master was mentioning. What's your favorite song in the Prison City? Well, the one that I kind of cherish the most is the Preserve track, because the Preserve is the only one that I kind of approached like a Capcom track, not a Konami track. And that meant it was the hardest one for me to write. Wait, do I have one muted? Yeah, for the love of God. Just listen to this. Yeah, listen to what I'm talking about, how they're hitting chords with only 2 notes. And they got soul, brother. The crazy thing is when you start listening to these Capcom tracks isolated, like one channel at a time, sometimes it doesn't even sound correct. Like, I don't know where they're going with this riff. But when you put them together, you're like, oh, that's where it was going. So it's like reading a Buckminster Fuller book on synergy. Like, I don't understand. How did they find emergent properties of music? You gotta think small. You can't go big. You can't be more channels, more this, more everything. Sometimes to find those emergent properties, you gotta get right down to the nucleus and say 2 things. Can they go together? What happens in between those 2 things? How close can we get? What's in between? Is there dust and crud? Or is there magic? Magic happening. How many channels does the Game Boy have? It only had 4. So it had 2 melodic channels, I think. 1 noise and 1... Actually, I can't remember. I think it had 4, though. But they didn't have a triangle wave. That's the big difference. So they would often do bass with like a low square wave. If I recall. Anyways, that's Mega Man 3. Wait, hold. Where's Magnet Man? Now, the technique I was talking about was the... We're gonna hear that one coming up. This song just gets stuck in my head for no reason all the time. It's not even my favorite track on the album. But this technique is gold, I tell you, Jerry. Gold. Here we go. Let's hear it. Damn, we chose wrong. Okay, I'm gonna rewind it. You play it at speed. Nope, play it at speed. That's technique, or that's texture. And it sounds fantastic. It gives that whole section of the song its own unique character. And so I use this technique a lot in the writing of Prison City. And you really only understand it if you're looking right there in between the two spots. There is not dust and crud, there's magic happening. Alright. It was the first level I played when I played Mega Man 3. Is it because... Well, no, Shadow Man was probably my first because he looked like a ninja. But Magnet Man also looks like a ninja. So any Mega Man character that looks like a ninja, I'll probably play. Now, just while we were talking about it, I want to show you guys the preserved track in Prison City. Because for me, this was the only... Well, this was the only track on the album that didn't use a power chord once. The only one. That was the through line for the entire game was power chords. It's like guitar players are playing it. But this was the only one where... you know, it's raining, there's a rain level, and there's like, it's like a nighttime forest with rain everywhere, and it made me think of Mega Man, and I don't know why. And so what Mega Man was doing almost always was dual harmonies that sort of coalesced to create some sort of emergent song in the end. And you know what, at the end of the day, I should probably actually open up Preserve's mod plug file, which I can do. I will do, actually, right after this. Just to show you guys how when you isolate one of the channels on its own, it's almost like it doesn't sound like music. But when you put them both together, that's when it's like you have the decoder glasses like this. Hey, what the hell's the secret message there? Hey! Oh, it was a song the whole time. I thought it was just a bunch of fart sound effects. Oh, that makes more sense. All right, Preserve, coming at you. You can hear that same effect, right? Magnet Man. A Capcom game with sick as frick Konami drums, am I right? All right, that was my attempt at a Mega Man style track. Not necessarily like, hey, I'm gonna do a Mega Man track, but I wrote the first pattern, and once you write a pattern, it's almost like the song is preordained. It has been foretold. I couldn't just add a bunch of power chords in that; it wouldn't sound right. So I had to write the whole. I had to carry on. I got lucky. All right, all right. I'm afraid. All right, you want to hear me? You want to break me down? You want to hear me say it? I got lucky with one pattern, and then basically had to get lucky again, like 8 or 9 more times to finish the song. It took a lot of effort to just get that one to work. Some parts I could see in a Street Fighter credits theme. Street Fighter on Super Nintendo? Interesting. And thank you for that, Young Street. I wish I was a famous chiptune composer. Well, I gotta tell you, it's, I don't know if it's necessarily worth it, Young Street, but thank you for that. When I heard the music, I fell in love with Mega Man 3, my favorite game in the series. Mine too, although I would have never believed, I blink, how much slowdown Mega Man 3 actually did have. It was a lot. All right, if there was a Street Fighter 1 and it was on NES, yes, it would have that. All right, well, there you go. I appreciate it. All right, now, let's us go back. Stop showing my screen. I got to remember I have full-on display mode on. I just want to quickly hear some of these patterns at the back, and then we're going to hear this exact song as I take it to the next level. All right, the next level of human evolution coming up, everyone. Stay tuned. All right, let's hear some of these patterns at the end. Well, actually, while I was here, let me talk about the power chord. Let me show you guys how I would start a track like this. All right, we're gonna write a pattern from scratch. This is what you do when you're starting a power chord. Like this is how you write a Konami track from scratch. All right, here we go. let me just get the kick going here. It's been a while. I don't remember what my exact method was here. All right, kick. What did I put my snares at? Are they at 64 as well? Full volume. All right, let's just do this. Kick, snare, every 16 rows. Boom, boom. Copy, paste, boom. All right, and copy, paste. And copy, frickin' paste. Copy, paste. And copy, paste. And copy. How big is this frickin' channel? It's full 256. All right. Should start being able to hear some jams now. Jam City. All right, now a good way to start is start with the bass. Because you got the drums here are placeholder. We will fix the drums later, but there's no idea yet until you get a beat. It's going to be this speed. That's basically what you're telling yourself. This speed, sir. All right, let me stop following the track. Oh, man, it's been so long. I forgot absolutely everything about how this program works. I lived in this program for 2 months and basically 20 years before that. All right, I don't like high-pitched notes on my triangle wave. I know like Mario and a lot of games like that did have a lot of high pitch, but I like low notes in my triangle, so I'm going to go low. And let's just get... And we're going to do this. We're going to cut the notes off right before the next note. That's what this little symbol is. Cut the note off. Yeah. You know what? I even like that little break there. You can start with hi-hat too. I kind of like having the drums here, but I don't remember what my technique for hi-hats were. Why don't we just add this in? A little hi-hat pattern here. And we're gonna take the whole thing and move it down 8. Yeah. See, that's what I like about this program. It's got some easy-to-use stuff like this, like control, just highlight the whole thing, and use the scroll wheel to change the volume levels. As long as I keep it in increments of 4. Actually, no, that's not true, because 6 is not an increment of 8-bit, but whatever, it doesn't matter for this. Now, what I would do to get this to sound heavy, clean and heavy, name that reference, is I'm going to paste it over here. Now, there shouldn't be 2 triangle waves. That's stupid. But what we're going to do is we're just going to highlight the whole thing, the instrument row, and just roll it up. What do I like? I can't even remember. Oh, the same exact sounds I used in the Anomaly soundtrack I did. Yeah, we're going to use that. 22. But it sounds a little too low. Don't like it. Not going to stand for it. Let's move it up 1. No. There we go. Alright, so this is our power chord, basically. We got our bass note of the power chord, and we got our octave above. But whatever are we going to do to make it a power chord? Well, first of all, I would change the volume to be 56/48, so it sounds like a little bit of a guitar pluck. Starts a little heavy, then goes down, or a little loud, and goes down. And I'm not going to do hard cuts here. I'm going to do a 16 instead, so I don't want it to ever actually completely cut, like the bass has to. Let's just do this for every note. And this is going to sound a little goofy because that long pause is going to have... No, it'll stop as well. All right. Now, to make this a true power chord, copy and paste one more time. Do it.
Do it now.
And raise it up 7 notes, or 7 semitones. Count them with me. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Are you ready? 7. Ow, man! Ow! Now we can start thinking about, all right, what do we want to change? What do we want to do with this sick riff we have? Why don't we... We got to do it to the other one, too. Add a little kick drum here. I like do. Alright, so this is how I would basically start all my Konami tracks. So you can see how This technique won't work if you're doing a Mega Man track because it won't allow you to do this intro. You basically have to do a completely different thing. I don't even know how I did it. I blacked out. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. Not gonna do it. Dan Carvey, Bush voice. All right, did I accidentally dip into that for a second? Arpeggios, you mean like Neil Baldwin would do? We got the Shadow Master in the chat saying, why don't you use arpeggios? Well, being that I'm a self-taught musician, arpeggios are basically chordal. They're chord structured. I don't know much about chords. It's not my go-to move. I'm always thinking about the melody. So if you give me something like this, automatically I'm not thinking like what chord progression would go great over this. I'm thinking what lead would go over this, what melody would go over this. And then when you put that lead in there, I think what lead would go great with that too. And sometimes I'll just keep going, what lead would go great with that? And then eventually I have too many leads, too many dads on the team. You sing the bass line like Beavis and Butthead? I don't know what the hell that means, Young Street. You're on thin ice, buddy. Shut up, Beavis. That was a great show. They had a RoboCop episode, didn't they, Young Street? Now you're tasked with finding a clip of that. Dun-dun-dun-dun-dun. Oh, like they would do dun 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 dun. All right, that's basically how I would start that. But you know what I want to do, everyone? I want to, before we move on, I'm going to remember to switch this. I'm going to open up the Preserve track right now because I want you guys to, is it Preserve 18? Well, I must have already done it because it's here already. I'm here, do it now. Yeah, all right. Back in we go, everybody. So you'll not see any of what I just did, that technique to start a song. This is basically me writing melodies over melodies over melodies, if you count the bass as a melody. What I want to do, actually, because I was very proud of this track, because I wrote basically multiple parts in one channel. That's what you have to do if you're going to write a Mega Man track. I'll show you what I mean by that. And almost doesn't, it sounds like wrong notes a bit. A lot of echoes going on here. There's a technique there where I do octaves. I'll show that in a second. It almost doesn't make any sense on its own. Well, it wasn't written in a vacuum. It was written in context with the other ones. But that's where the hard part about writing a track like this is when you make a change in one channel, you have to accompany it with a change in another channel. It's kind of like trying to tune your guitar in a floating string bridge. Have you guys ever seen these? Have you heard of these? Where you tune one string and it untunes another one. I don't know how you're supposed to tune these things, but I had one when I was a kid and it frustrated the hell out of me. So let's hear the other channel. Those sound like wrong notes. Alright, this part at least sounds like I remember the track. Oh, check that out. We changed it to a 50% duty cycle in the middle of that just to give it some texture. No way, Shadow. That's awesome. Echoes, am I right? Alright, now let's hear them both together. I guess those are kind of power chords. But not really. All right, there's a lot of techniques going on there. Like, from a technical standpoint, it's the most difficult track on the entire soundtrack. So let's see. I wanted to show you guys octaves real quick because that's a pro level move I actually learned from Vert, because I got to look at his project files for Retro City Rampage, which we worked on together. Not directly, but we worked on the same project, and the developer gave me his project files because, I don't know, I don't even know if I asked for them, but I must have looked at them, and it just blew my mind what he was doing with these JC zeros here. So what this is basically an arpeggio, Shadow Master. Hey, what up? Don't touch the door. We got, hey, it's been a while, actually. Don't touch the door. We're just, I got no chat on the screen tonight because I'm going to edit this into a YouTube video later. It'd just be easier if I don't even chat on there, but I'm responding to chat. Don't worry. What this is this is like a little arpeggio, Shadow Master. A little arpeggio that starts an octave above and then goes down to the correct octave and then stops there. So it's like bling, blong, bling, blong. Why don't I just, you hit enter? Is that what it was? Yes. Whoopsies. All right, I don't want to change all that. All right, we'll go over here. Oh, wait, that's right. It's not going to show it unless I play it like this. All right, well, fine. Let's just do a new pattern. Duplicate pattern. Actually, I probably should just done a pattern that had no stuff in it. All right, we're just going to take the drums out of here. And I'm just going to play you guys. Fine. I don't know why I did this in the first place, but... All right, a little Castlevania 2 action here. This is going to be really fast, so I'm just going to do a little thing like this. A little volume envelope here. Starts at 50, goes to 48, then cuts down right before the next note to 16. And we're going to do a... Well, okay, this is a super short pattern. So the first half, we're going to add this JC0. This is where it's going to give it what I would consider to be a little pluck. It's going to sound like it's being plucked by a guitar player. And the other one isn't. Now let's hear the difference here. Why is there... All right, I don't know why it doesn't play properly, but... Let's see if I can make this more obvious. Here it's... That should really start sounding like more Konami stuff. That was something Konami was doing a lot of, where they were doing this almost as a way to sound more like a guitar player going. So if you want your note to have just a little more oomph, JC0, oh, mwah, mwah, that's a sick technique to do. I love doing that trick. Yeah, that's a good one, right, Shadow? All right, this song does go hard. Yeah, that was me going as hard as I possibly could up here. My brain was like, my neurons, they're frying. That was something my instructor in data communication class used to say. I don't want to hear anything except neurons firing. All right, I have something I want to discuss with you tonight regarding something a long time ago we talked about. It's nothing bad, all right? Don't touch the door. As long as it's not about touching the door, because I refuse to. I refuse to touch that door. All right, so that's one technique that you'll see just in there occasionally. Like here, you'll see a couple of JC0s here, but not the echo notes. You don't want to have a JC0 because it's not necessarily echoing the start. It's echoing just what would have been the volume gradient down. So let's hear that, just this channel by itself, actually. Just a little bit. Regarding Twisted Metal. All right, let her rip. Don't touch the door. All right, the other thing that I actually struggle with a lot with NES music is note envelopes that start low and go up. I find these really hard to deal with. I find them unwieldy because the NES is so unfriendly as a writing aid. But you'll see here, it starts at 32, then goes 36, 40, 44, 48, 52, 56. So it's like the reverse of up, volume grade down. It goes up. Zip, zip, zip. So listen to that. If I didn't have that, if, say, I did it this... You'll see even here I'm doing 48, 56, 48. Really subtle stuff. I wanted these notes not to have a pronounced attack. Boom! Because look, over here on the other side, I had a pronounced attack. I don't need 2 pronounced attacks. So actually, what if I did this in reverse? 56, 52, 48, 44, 40, 36, 32. Hear that first one? But the second was a nice little. So I feel like Capcom were very good, experts you might say, at using volume in this way. Like they came up with that whole Magnet Man trick. What the hell were they doing with volume? But what they did none of, almost none of, was a technique that I'm also using for almost every power chord on this soundtrack. Here we go. Let me open up the previous track. Let me just get this going. All right, 22. 22 is the instrument we're going to check out here. 22. 121 and an 8. And I couldn't find the place. Name that movie, everyone. All right, at the time, I only ever had experienced Twisted Metal 3 and 4, and so I've gone back and played the rest since you liked 1 and 2 so much. And I haven't played all the Twisted Metal games, but Small Brawl and the PS3 one. I also would agree that 1 and 2 are better than 3 and 4. My official ranking of the games are 2, 1, Black, 4, Head On, and 3. Yeah, if you started with 3 and 4 and you thought they were cool, man, like, when Twisted Metal 1 came out, here, might as well. When Twisted Metal 1 came out, I was reading about it in GamePro magazine. I'm like, that is the game of the future. I can drive anywhere and drive into buildings, drive over other cars, cross the wrong side of the street. It'd never been done before. I'm telling you. Never been done before. And you'd see that picture in GamePro magazine of like Darkseid just driving through a parking lot and like a whole city in the background and other cars driving around. You're like, this is next level. It really was like ultimate next level stuff. And the control and everything was just perfect. And the music was completely out of control. And then by 4, they get Rob Zombie tracks in there and the control feels like ass. Like an a-hole spewing out fart clouds all in your face. That's what it felt like to me, because it took that tight control. Well, actually, it was pretty slidey control in the first one, but you were fishtailing. That was the first time I'd ever heard the term fishtail. And then they basically make you stick on the ground in Twisted Metal 4. It doesn't feel good at all. 3 and 4 have better graphics, but 1 and 2, the gameplay more fun. Yeah, I guess. I can't really speak to the graphics. The PlayStation 1 era graphics are kind of a mixed bag. Like, if you look, it's funny, if you just randomly take a PS1 game off the shelf and just look at the pictures on the back, sometimes you don't even know what you're looking at. Like, what the hell is this? How did I create the instruments? That's a great question. I'll show you right now. I'll show you right now while I'm talking about it. So this is my instrument 22. This is based off the Anomaly sound. So for those that don't know, I wrote a chiptune death metal album. I was out of my mind at the time. I was like, I want this to exist. So I transcribed death metal into NES as best I could. The goal was, Japanese businessman comes in, slams a bunch of Cannibal Corpse tapes down on the table and says, make this an NES. And I was like, oh God, what are we supposed to do here? And then it spilled into like tech metal, tech death metal, some prog. It was all over the place, but I wanted it to be like death metal inspired. Anyway, so this is the same sound I used for the power chords in Anomaly. Now you'll notice up here, it says V00, V01. Anyone familiar with FamiTracker will recognize, oh, those are the instrument values for the duty cycles. So V00 is the nasally 12% duty cycle, and V01 is the Mega Man style 25% duty cycle. Now let's just take a look at what that looks like. We can do better than that. Here we go. So I'm basically saying for the first cycle or so of this instrument, I want it to be 12% duty cycle, the zeros, right? And then I want it to go 25% after that. And what that will also do is create a little bit of a pluck. So the first very initial sound you hear is 12%, like so. God damn it. Well, if I could perfectly loop this nasally. And the second ones are 25%, which is a little smoother. Actually, the smoothest. So what we're seeing here is the first pluck is going to sound nasally, and then the rest, the most part that it sustains, is going to sound... wait, you guys could see the 25%, right? The sustained part, the part you hear the most of, is going to sound like 25%. So I made a bunch of these for each octave. You can see octave 1. What do we do here? There's the first one. Where only when it's the lowest possible octave the NES could do, only the first cycle is 12%, and then all the rest are 25%. And then as you go, I wonder if it just adds 2. Yeah, it adds 2, then 4 for some reason. Oh, so it's multiplying. Maybe 8 on this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Maybe 9. I don't know. I don't know how it works, but what's my favorite duty cycle? I got to tell you, it's probably the 50% duty cycle, even though it's a love-hate relationship. I hate the way that it sounds on its own, but I love the way the 50% duty cycle can cut right through the mix. So if you want your audience to hear something cutting right through the sound effects, cutting right through everything, you need the 50% duty cycle, which is this one right here. Let's turn up the octave. You can see how it's starting to really... Like, I think I've done permanent ear damage writing chiptunes over the last 20 years because you just have to hear these on loop in the background. Ah! But I hate the way the 50% duty cycle sounds when it harmonizes with itself. I don't like that at all. So on its own, I think I like the 25% the best. But I do also like that the 12%, it's kind of like the one that has the most bite. Especially lower. So you got to pick and choose. But why pick one when you can start mixing your duty cycles like I've done here? So this one starts with the 25 or the 50% and then goes to the 1. From the smoothest, bitiest sine wave one down to the most nasally one. Now, the astute observer may start to hear some Castlevania 2 in these, and I'll show you the single greatest demonstration of mixing duty cycles. I don't even know what this technique was called, but I think Konami were like the only ones that were doing this for a long time. Maybe ever. I haven't really checked out a lot of other developers in the later, like from about 1989 and on, Konami was doing this everywhere, nonstop, like almost 100% of the time. So let's hear Castlevania 2's Bloody Goddamn Tears. All right, I don't want the FDS version. FDS is for chumps. All right, that's Famicom Disk System for those that are wondering what the hell I just said. I want the raw NES one. I don't need no expansion chip, not yet. We're going to get to it, everyone. I'm going to get to the actual, what I started doing with Prison City in just 1 second. But first, we have to talk about all the techniques because I'm going to put them all in one video this time. All right, so this is Bloody Tears from Castlevania 2. Now, not only did they take 2 duty cycle mixes, they did 2 separate ones for each square wave. So this one is like a 12 to 25, and this one's like a 12 to 50 or a 25 to 12. I don't know what they did, but it was both different, and they used another technique where they detune both of them ever so slightly. And the detuning, oh my god, another technique. Well, we're going to show you that one in a second. But here, check this out right now for the duty cycle combining effect. Well, that's even doing it, but that's not the one I want. This one. These square waves. That sound can only be achieved by mixing duty cycles. Let's hear it again. You hear that? Blah, 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 blah. That's starting with a 50% duty cycle, then going to something else. So if you want all those little techniques, all right, thanks for stopping in, Shadow Master. I'll edit this later. Check it out on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Thanks for chatting. Ah, that sound. That Bloody Tear sound can only be done by mixing duty cycles. Let's see if we can go really low and hear the duty cycles. This is as slow as it can go. They might also be doing... They are also adding in octaves, starting at a lower octave than going higher. Jesus Christ. It's even more complicated than I remember. And then when you play that fast, goddamn does it sound good. A lot of people consider this to be the greatest NES song ever written. In case you guys are new to NES music, this one right here. a lot of people in like fan voted surveys. Best NES track of all time. Yeah. Four as horrible character. What is Don't Touch It? My favorite character is really good 1 and 2. You can't go wrong with this song, can you, I blink? I like that Don't Touch the Door, that you clarified that, because it was like 2 years ago that you're like, no, 3 and 4 were sick. I think I recall that, and being in the chat, I'm like, no, this is incorrect. And so you've gone back and played the other ones. Man, that last level in Twisted Metal 1 when you're on the rooftops, that's a great level. That's unbelievable. And the song is just out of control. All right. This is widely regarded as the best Castlevania song and appears in almost every Castlevania game after. Yep. Definitely a big one. Although there's a lot of ones on the Super Nintendo also that were big. And Dracula X, also very big. Even Shadow Symphony of the Night probably has a couple tracks on there that could be like, this is the greatest Castlevania song of all time. But in terms of NES music, there was a project I was a part of called Phase 3. And it was where a bunch of NES maniacs voted on every track from every game that was good. And then took that list, voted on every game that had good music. Then put that list, and then voted on every track from every game. Phase 1 was just getting the games. Phase 2 was getting all the tracks that are good from every game out. And then Phase 3 was listening to them all and giving them a score out of 100. And I was one of like 10 people that listened to every track. There were 1,700 tracks by the end. And yeah, that whole thing, Castlevania 2, I think was like number... Actually, I think Zelda got number 1, which is kind of a... Come on, Zelda's main theme. Come on, everybody. But I think Castlevania Symphony or Bloody Tears was number 2. But come on, we all know. And Mega Man 2's Wily theme was also another one. I don't agree with that at all. I believe this is probably the fan favorite. But I think a little bit too many of the people who voted maybe voted a little bit with their hearts and not with their ears. But now that I'm talking about it, let me actually show you guys which Mega Man 2 track came ahead of that one. This one. It's still a great track, but... What, you guys hear a gallop and suddenly you lose your mind? Come on! I mean, it's a great track, I'll give you that, but... All 25% duty cycle. Actually, that is 50% duty cycle. You're the same way I blink. All right, my man. Aswin's digging it. Welcome in, Aswin. We're actually comparing some techniques and stuff from NES music because Prison City, which has NES-style music, just came out on all frickin' consoles, and I made the goddamn music. Oh yeah, Mega Man 3's music is way better than Mega Man 2 music on almost every regard except for nostalgia. But this is great. This is still great. I'm not saying Mega Man 2's music was not quality, but Mega Man 3's quality was just like the skill gap in the techniques is just unbelievable. Anyways, and then let's just quickly compare again. Is it out yet, Aswin? I don't think that's out yet. Is it? You played GTA 6? Then it went downhill after 3. Yeah, 4 was still good, but not something that I would go back to with any of the same. Actually, 5 was a really good game too, but it was just too late. It was like 1992. I'm not going to play a Nintendo game once I have Sega Genesis. Mega Man 6 was not that great either, but a lot of people, I think Jigs will tell you he thinks that's his number 1 favorite. That's tough. I don't know. Maybe it is good. It's just hard to have any nostalgia for it. All right. What the hell is this emote? Sleeper. Oh, all right. I love the Waveman theme from 5. Yeah, the Mega Man 5 soundtrack is like a definite sleeper hit. All right, now let's everyone. So I was talking about multi-duty cycles here, and then I'm just gonna quickly show you guys. Usually I'm doing those in power chords. I think we got to wrap this part up. Boom. Aswin, get in here, buddy. This is how I make Nintendo music. Well, this was a pattern I made just to show people. But I'm using duty cycle modulation. We'll call it duty cycle modulation for lack of a better term. That's what I did for my power chords. I think have we wrapped it? I think I covered all the techniques I use in this track. This track is the only one I have available in Cubase. So I'll show you guys now. Just what the hell happened here. Let me, just for the sake of making this look a little cleaner. What I did, and back in we go. All right, classic Winamp skin for life. Basically, I took every channel from what you just saw. The triangle wave, the 2 square waves, the kick drum, the snare drum, and the noise. And I bounced them all down to their own wave file. Damn it. So if I mute that, you can't hear my stream. All right, all right, these should always be on all the time. So here, that should be fine. No, I just want this one open. For the love of Pete. Close you, but open you. All right, that should sound good. Here's the song you just heard with a light little bit of mixing in it. All the same channels you just heard, but I wanted to keep these together. Let's see if I can open this. Can I open up my mixer? There we go. Don't mind these over here. That's just all my audio microphone stuff. Where's the NES? There we go. Actually, very little. A little bit of compression on the bass because NES triangle waves are out of their mind. A little bit of EQing on the squares just to take away some of the... Or no, the drums. Yeah, the kick and the snare. Just a little bit of mixing on them. And a little bit of distortion, actually, on the noise channel. Mainly just to sort of give it a more modern sound. All right. Now we need to hear this all together now. All right, here's the NES. Now, boom. What did Rad do? What I wanted to do is I wanted to keep the NES music down the middle, mono. But then I wanted to add selective hobo spices and flavors on top of it to give it a stereo feel. I have low battery in my phone. Bye-bye. All right, Aswin, bye. My first thing was I wanted the bass to sound heavier. I wanted all my power chords to sound heavier. So when we get to this ripping heavy part, I'm gonna loop this up. And let's get the bass going. And without these. So let's hear what we're dealing with here. This is what I've added. And you might be wondering, like, Rad, come on, that's sacrilegious, how dare you? Well, before you get too upset, I'm actually using the Famicom Disk System sound effects. Or sounds. Let me see if I have this. So this is like little Famicom Disk System sound. But if you play it low, it kind of sounds heavy. And if I add it with this Game Boy saw sound, you have a specific DAW for mixing. I'm using Cubase. I prefer Cubase, but I won't tell you Cubase is the best one all around. Cubase is good if you like to record audio and you like to do like VST, virtual instruments. I don't record audio though, so I don't usually get to make use of a lot of Cubase's functions. So some people might even say, like, if you're just using MIDI, you might want to use like what are those other ones? I can't even remember. The one that everyone likes, not Fruity Loops anymore. Is it the one Fruity Loops became? I can't remember, but I just like it because it's kind of an enterprise level project or program. Thought you needed some bars. Take the keys, dirty knees, my hands, cheese, lids, ocean, crumble, just a humble watching WW for Royal Rumble. Joe Odds Kenobi. I don't know what the hell you're saying, but get the hell in here. All right, now let's. So that's what I added. Also, this one. This is the only thing that is not NES in the basses. It's already just a goddamn heavy. What is this actually? Avenger? I actually have Avenger working on this. This is like a workhorse VST. I use this on absolutely every project I work on. So when we combine them all together, Actually, I think I'm probably just playing them in different octaves, but when you combine them together in the song with the bass, now we're starting to get into flavor country. All right, now I want to hear the rest of it. What else did you add, Rad? It's not a lot. I was being very selective here, but what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure some of the leads just had almost more of a stereo vibe to them. So what I did was I added some of these some more Famicom Disk System channels, but I think I added actual echo effects to them. Yeah. All right. Oh, but I should also show you guys, this was something else I had to do. I had to export the MIDI from my projects as well. So from ModPlug, I had to export the MIDI and then find a way, like this is what the MIDI looks like. It's just awful. Like if you look at the pitch bends and stuff, they did all the vibrato in pitch bends, which is not ideal. Like there's the vibrato that I entered in H, you know, the channel that had H42s and things like that. That's what that turned into. And actual note slides down. I don't have any here, but also all the echo notes you can see. If I were to write these echo notes in Cubase, it would look like this. The blue notes here would be echo notes. So you're like, bam, 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 and here's the echo note of that, and here's the echo note of this one. Right now it's just playing general MIDI sounds. But I basically took all these and dragged them up here to create these sounds. So how was I playing the same notes on the bass? Well, I had to drag the goddamn bass up, and you can see all the pitch bends are here. All right, so there's a lot of pitch bends that I do in ModPlug, but it's really hard to do those sort of pitch bends in a tracker. But anyways, let's hear this part here because I can see there's some leads here. Just a little bit of echo and a little bit of velvetiness. And we add this one in the background too. Let's hear that with the other square wave. I think I probably had to remove the Mega Man effect. Like, no, stop that. Well, that sounds good. And then when you mix it all together, you get this. So what used to sound more like this now sounds like this. I'm debating about getting Fruity Loop Studios for some of them VST and piano roll. Ableton, that's right. The thing I like about Ableton, I'll say like the number one thing that I wish Cubase had, I don't know why they don't, is that you can just create an LFO, which is just a sine wave that goes, for those that don't know, and apply it to an effect, any effect. So I could say, hey, you know this, I have Avenger open, you know what, I could just create an LFO outside of it and send it in to any one of the parameters. So it's like you twisting the knob like this to the, that would be so good. Just on little bits. Add little tiny bits of LFOs to everything so it's always modulating just a tiny bit. That would be good. You want some godly LFOs and modulations, gotta recommend Bitwig. What the hell is that? Is that a DAW of some kind, or is that a VST? Now also, let me just play the whole track because I want to hear the whole damn thing like this. Full force. I'd be very, as a crusty old man, I don't know if I could switch to a new DAW at this point. Here's a little stereo-ness. Let's hear that again. What do these sound like? Kind of like an arcade game from the... Alright, that sounds good, goddammit. Light, subtle. Goddammit, we gotta be subtle here. Alright, let's just hear this again. I just like when we switch this. This is what it sounded like. So to write this project, everyone, what I had to do was basically write it first as NES music. Then I had to export every channel into its own audio channel so I could bring it in and mix it. Then I had to export the MIDI that I wrote in ModPlug and create extra instruments out of just those. And I wanted all the square waves to be represented, all the leads, everything had to be represented, but subtly so. If you go too hard with it, you're gonna make it sound bad. Like here, what if I did this? As much as I like the way this sounds, what if I just crank these up? Now you might even think, God, that still sounds good, Rad. I think it sounds good, but we're talking about balance here. Now, if I suddenly increase all this extra sound here, I would have to represent everywhere in the song this same level of new energy. So you got to be really careful. So I decided that I wanted it to be subtle, very subtle. We also got to talk about the drums. Now, the Nintendo drums only sound like this. All right. Oh, and the kick too. With a little bit of mixing, just a tiny bit. Come on. But what I wanted to do was I wanted to make them sound a little more modern. Like there's this problem a lot of chiptune composers have, and I was one of them for a long time. Where you're like, no, it's got to be authentic or nothing at all. I won't hear of it. Don't you dare add any mixing or anything. Well, you know what? I've been doing that for 20 years, and I think I've said everything I need to say. I've challenged myself enough. I wanted a new challenge. And so that's why with this, I kind of went back to the Wild West. I didn't want it to be something I was familiar with anymore, but I was not guaranteed success. So I'm like, what I wanted to do was I needed the drums to sound a little better, because 1-bit DPCM samples are not going to sound slamming on a 6 sound system, all right? But I don't want to ruin that nostalgia. So I kept the drums the way they were, but I tried to layer into them just a little bit more beef, some heft. Twosies. Now, all I'm doing is adding this. Like, that sounds really modern. Let's just add the bass. Or better yet. That's in there still. It's just behind it. Because, you know, I noticed this too when I wrote the soundtrack for Treasure Buster. It was an FM soundtrack, and I really dove into FM in the same way I sort of know NES music. You know, I'd listen to a lot of FM, but I never really dove in and understood what was going on. And I started listening to a lot of songs from the 80s to do this promotion called Summer of FM, hashtag, where I would find all the FM tracks that bands from the 80s would do. Like, I'd find a whole Chicago album, and I would listen to it until I heard one instance of FM bass. Be like, that's the one that's going on Summer of FM. And you'd be surprised how many bands in the 80s they were obligated to. Like, I think you had all your musicians that you hired for the album, and you need to pad out the album somewhere. Like, oh god, we need 2 more tracks. All right, get Steven, the intern here, to just get on a DX7, which was the FM synthesizer. All right, Steven, give us a riff. And Steven would come in and write a sick track. But when you go back and listen to it now, it just sounds so good. I love the way FM bass sounds behind modern produced music. So there's actually a Journey track called Suzanne, which has FM bass just dripping everywhere, but it sounds so good. And when I started noticing bands like Jefferson Starship did in like We Built This City, is they would mix in real bass with the FM bass, almost as like a way to be like, well, we can't go all FM bass. We do have a bass player, you know. He's sitting right over there, and it's gonna be really His feelings are going to be really hurt if we don't let him on this track. All right, get him in here. But we're going to layer it on with that FM because we want it to sound metallic like all the stuff in the 80s. Let me dump these links for you in the producer channel so that you can talk about this music. Let me dump these links. Talk about this music in peace. All right, fair enough. Thank you, Rage and Mage. Oh, you're saying more stuff in the dog geared towards electronic music production. All right, yeah, send me some links in the producer chat. In the producer chat, because you're in there now, buddy. I really appreciate that, Rage and Mage. You've been a nice addition to the Radland Maniacs. All right, and so I noticed that, especially with We Built This City, they're just layering the regular bass and the FM bass. So that's why I was like, why don't I just do the same thing here? Why don't I layer on these bass sounds like this into my bass? What's the worst that could happen? It could just sound a little crunchier, that's all. And, cheating a little, I get to have a little release on this bass that I'm using here. It was just, I got very lucky that worked out for me. Very, very lucky. And then the drums, yeah. And then I did this. So I thought, why not do the same thing with the drums? Why don't I just say, all right, can I get away with this? Can I pull this off? And this really was, it really was like a Hail Mary. I had no guarantee that this was going to work. We're going to wrap it up now, everyone. But the final closing thoughts is I had no guarantee that this was going to pay off or this was going to work. But I knew in my heart of hearts, I couldn't just release, let me turn this down a bit. I couldn't just release another NES soundtrack. I couldn't do that. Because I've said so much with NES, and a lot of people don't know, but I worked on a whole project which never got released under the Nornrad pseudonym about 4 years before this. And it was, in my opinion, my very best work. I was like, man, I can't wait to share this with the whole chiptune community because you guys haven't heard anything in like 4 years. And I came back. It was going to be like a return to form. It was my most complicated musical pieces of all time. I was like, this is going to be it. And then things didn't work out. That project never got released. I got handsomely paid for it, so I have no complaints about the project. They're safely, the project is never released. And so I can't really share that music with anyone. And if everyone wants to hear a track off that, I do have a sample of it under the fake name Grip and Rip on my website, https radlandstudios.com. So you guys scoot over there and check out Grip and Rip. I might as well just play it here. No, we'll keep this Prison City. I'm not going with some of my older stuff. But anyways, when that project didn't come out, I think that was the day that Nornrad died. I'm like, nope. I don't think I ever want to write a plain Nintendo song ever again. Like, it killed me inside. It is really chiptunes are very personal. It's a very personal thing, and everyone writes chiptunes a little differently. It's because you're working with these goddamn tiny little samples, and you're working in between the tiniest little bit, and what you do in between, it defines you. It's like your fingerprint. Boop! And everyone does it a little differently, and the more you know about it, the more options you have to start dinking around with other directions. But when you write music, chiptunes, especially for a project in real life, it's very tough because with NES music, to nail a sound in a game, it's really hard also because you almost don't know if you've nailed the sound until you've actually put like 2 hours of work into a track because you need to do all these echo effects, you need to do all these texture effects. You can't just like leave the notes bare out there, with their bare ass hanging out. You can't do that. You need to actually put some time in to make it sound right, and the sound actually inspires you to go forward. But, you know, I work late at night, usually, like when everyone's asleep, so I'll go a whole night before I know if I've gone in the right direction. So you put your heart and soul, basically, into these tracks, and when they don't come out, oh, man. And so that one hurt. I didn't know what to do with myself. I just knew I wasn't inspired by NES music anymore until Program Answer got a hold of me. He's someone that I'd been friendly with on Twitter, of all things, for several years, even before the project that I did that didn't get released. And he was one of the guys I sent all the tracks to, like, look, I'm shredding it. You know, just to be like, check it out, not to like officially release them or anything. But he was working on another game called Simon Quest at the time, a Transylvania adventure. and it basically looked a lot like Simon's Quest. But it wasn't Simon's Quest. And I liked the project. I scrolled by Twitter all the time and saw it. I'm like, God, that looks like a sweet project. And he got a hold of me right at probably the lowest time in my life. The lowest part of the pandemic, like straight up lockdowns, no work coming in. Like, what the hell am I supposed to do? Like, do I have to become a janitor? Like, I don't know what the hell I'm supposed to do. And I was running out of time, running out of money, and he got a hold of me and said, like, Ratty boy, I'm working on a game jam, and he showed me Prison City. And it was not finished. I think he only had like the bare bones of the train done. He's like, this is the game I want to do for this game jam. And it's a game jam called Retrograde, I think. Retrograde 3, I think, was the one. And he hosts it. I didn't even know this. I don't know anything about this. I'm a musician, damn it. But he said, yeah, do you want to help me out with this project? And I knew I liked his Simon Quest game so much. I'm like, he's working on another project? And god frickin' damn. Prison City represented to me the first time I just knew exactly my style of writing music, my style of chiptunes, my fingerprint was just going to work perfectly for the game. Like, this is going to work so well. I'm not even going to have to revise in my head how to write the stuff. Whatever I have is going to spill out, and it's going to sound exactly like I think that game should sound. And, you know, like the power chord technique and everything like that. I knew that was going to work well for it. And that's why the one hard track on the album was the one where I didn't do that. So Prison City kind of resurrected Nornrad. Nornrad is done and buried in the ground. Now we're Radland, or just Rad. But I wanted to come back, and I didn't want to come back. I was inspired to come back. A divine timing, yeah. God, get it? Well, here's the thing. I didn't have time either. I needed to work on something. I can't remember. I was like literally down to like $100 left in my bank account. Like, what the hell? So I took a bunch of tracks that I wrote for that other project that I didn't submit because they wouldn't have fit that project. And I Frankenstein them, like, take a bit of this and bit of that and mold it together. I think I even did a stream where I was trying to write the music for it. I'm like, it's not working. And so that night I said, scrap everything I was working on, drag in some of this other stuff, make it sound good. Small loops, like 30 seconds of song at the most. It was mostly like A, B, A, B, A, B. I didn't have any other songwriting structure. But it was a game jam, whatever. I don't have to do hard. But that also allowed the project to get picked up by Retroware, who liked the way it looked and hopefully liked the way it sounded. And I got the gig to write the whole soundtrack. And that was awesome because I was actually inspired again to write Nintendo music, which I had like officially just buried, put in the ground. Pat, 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 funeral, tears, we're done. But I knew when I went into this one, and I was so happy when I talked to Program Answer. I'm like, hey, what if I don't go just like hard NES? Like, would you be okay with me experimenting a bit? He's like, yeah, whatever you want. Well, in that case, I don't. Suddenly, the whole world's open to me. Like, well, what would I do? How would I make this sound different? Because I don't just want to write NES music again, which would have been easy for me because I could have just left it once I'd written the NES music. I could have just submitted that and said, that's fine. But there's something about the way, especially my chiptunes, when I write them in ModPlug, I don't like the way they sound on good speakers. They're too boomy. You need to mix it. Something needs to happen. And so I knew it needed to get mixed and sound good. All the bad frequencies have to be fixed. I also had to add something to it. I needed it to sound just a little more modern, but I didn't want to lose any of that nostalgia. So it's very subtle what I did, but believe me, there was so much time and so much care that went into this like hodgepodge, Wild West, completely insane approach to attempting to do this. And it worked out. And I've had a lot of... I'm so used to hearing NES music as it is. I don't know if the original NES music would have sounded better in this game. But I just knew that that's not what I wanted to submit. I didn't want to be known as the guy that wrote some more NES music in a ModPlug, of all things. ModPlug is a free program, and I made free samples myself using FamiTracker, another Nintendo tracking program. I made hundreds of samples. I created my own instruments, but I wasn't able to use any of this gear. I have studio gear that I've spent not hundreds, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on a studio because I'm a musician for video games. I need gear, and I use gear, but this is like, I need to find a way to bridge the two, theoretically and physically. I need to actually do it. And so this was a Hail Mary, just Joe Montana. Jerry, go! Rice, down the field. 99 yards! Woo! Touchdown! It was close. It could have gone so wrong. But, you know, you fly by the seat of your pants when you're a composer sometimes. It was a quick turnaround, too. It was like 2 months, I think, we worked on this project. Very little pushback. The only song, I think, on the entire project that I had some trouble creating outside of the preserve, which I had trouble writing it, but it was not like it didn't get accepted, was the sewer theme of all songs. Let me show you guys sewers, the one that was accepted in the game. All right, I'm kind of triggering a little Alien 3 action. Like, you know what I really wanted was a triangle wave that had more oomph to it, like as the kick drum. So this one eventually got accepted, but the first one I wrote for it was actually the cutscene, I believe. Game over, painful conversation, grim conversation. This one I think was the first one I wrote for the sewer, and they said, it would just work better as a cutscene track. Shorty, my man, get in here. Very similar. It's hard. The type of music, NES music I write is balls to the wall, fast as frick, highly energetic. So when I have to slow it down a bit, it's really hard for me. This is me slowing it down. I wrote one other track. Let's see if I can unearth that one. A lot of echoes going on here. A lot of production has to go. When you write a slower NES track, you have to fill the notes in between the notes with so much texture, and that's what makes them harder. Actually, I should probably open some of these in ModPlug. God damn. Right, hold on. What folder are these even in? Oh, the M drive. Shorty, what up, my man? I got no chat on tonight because I'm going to edit this into a YouTube video after the fact, but I'm still chatting with you guys. It's nice to actually get this going. I had to create my Cubase template from scratch tonight, Shorty, just so I could have it open inside a Cubase project that I used for Prison City. Well, we got it. All right, now where the hell would it be? M drive projects? 2023? There we go. ModPlug tracks. There we go. Yeah, so I actually wrote 3 different sewers, and I haven't heard the original sewer in a long time, so we're going to play that right now. This one was notably more Castlevania, if I recall. Let's see... over here. Disregard Winamp Classic Skin. Wait, I'll just minimize that. Is that the one that got... No, this one got accepted. This was sewer number 6, actually. More than just 6 different sewers. Alright, no, sewer 6 is not the right one. I need sewer 1. Alright, I wrote more than I thought. There literally is 6 sewers. Alright, this time... back we go. Sewer 2, I believe. God damn you, it's the same one. Alright, we might as well check it out while we're here. You know what I would like to do? Just analyze some of these square waves really quickly. Because there's so much going on, because look how slow the track is going. The BPM is only 210. Alright, we'll go from the beginning. We'll do this one fine. And you have to be so in control of your own volume. Like, you can't just let it do it on its own. Oh, this is unfinished? Ah, I see. Well, fine. Then I want to hear the echo on the second square for this part. Yeah, this part was never actually added in the finished version of the track. Alright, so let's move on. I want to find that one Castlevania one. It must have been number 3 then. This one. Let's try it again. And go for Ratty Boy. Plug, back we go. Yeah, this one didn't get accepted. Hot, this is unreleased content, everyone. So this was supposed to be for the sewers. It just didn't fit the vibe. There's a lot of echo going on. Let's just hear these square waves on their own. Little poor man's reverb. Alright, that square number 1 here is absolutely out of control. So, I'm basically writing the power chord, poor man's reverb, and like a dual melody, all in this one channel. So the triangle wave is playing its own thing. And you'll notice it does actually have that triangle. That's the, if you want to use that JC0 style technique. I actually recorded my own samples from FamiTracker that do that in every octave, so I wanted it to sound good, because if you do the JC technique, it won't actually sound as good, so you need to make the samples from scratch. Anyway, so I need to represent some of those triangle hits in this channel, but I also need to do echoes from this channel in this channel, and then I also need to do its own harmonies, so listen to this one on its own. It's ridiculous what you have to do with NES music. 3 parts, 1 channel. Go. Let's bring the squares in just so you can hear where it matches up after this one. Now let's hear just the triangle and this one together. Starting now. Now let's hear all 3 at once. Get those drums in here. Play the whole part. There. Oh, that's another good technique. Right here. The notes slide down to end a note. Hear that? It's like a guitar player. That's kind of a similar technique that a guitar player would do. While I'm here, I gotta actually show you guys. Excuse me. I gotta show you guys another technique. I'm not actually doing it here, but Let's duplicate this real quick. Boom. Let's just toss it at the back, and we'll mess around with this one for a second. What I also did when I was working on creating these samples was I wanted... Let's use this one. I wanted to have the detuning. Now, Nintendo was very clever, very clever. They had this little sound chip on their hands, this tiny little sound chip inside that would have been like a dinky toy keyboard for kids. But they're like, hey, why don't we have some stuff we can do with it? And one such thing was the tuning. You can make it detune up a tick or detune down a tick. And now most games would actually detune their square waves at least one tick apart. So one would be a tick up and the other one would be perfectly in tune, or one would be a tick down and the other one would be perfect in tune. They very rarely ticked both of them one up and one down and made it like 2 ticks untuned. But Crystalis is one of the only games I can think of that actually did that. We'll show that maybe right after. But what I want to show you guys right here is if you have Nintendo, if you're writing a track, let's see. What's the drum pattern here? All right. Impulse tracker. Grom, get in here, buddy. We're just having a good time tonight. We're just gonna quickly, give this some volume. I think I missed one there. My bad. And we're gonna actually give this some echoes as well. I'll show you what that looks like. Actually, we don't need the SD one here. Oh, we might, because it's a slow track. All right, we're gonna do the SD one. Literally have to do this for every echo note I write. With the mouse. There's, like, as far as I know, no faster way to do this. I'm basically saying every one of these notes I'm copying and pasting, I'm playing again later at a lower volume. And then this SD1 I have here is telling it to play it even later than right at the line. Saying, all right, play it 1 tick into the line, and that'll just make it play right before the next note. Sort of an Iku Mizutani move. That's such an Iku move. Or maybe it's Iku, I don't know. Alright, so what I want to show you guys... Ah, damn it. What I would like to show you guys is the detuning technique. And one thing to avoid, when you hit the same note in both square channels, it's going to sound awful. Trust me on that. It's odd. I was fanning around with IT on one of my streams just last week. Grom, that's ridiculous. You know what? I want to go even further with it. No. We'll go further in a second. All right, now what if I just copied and pasted it? You'll hear it doubles the volume, and it makes it sound buzzy and awful. But what if you were writing a riff where you needed 2 square waves to hit the same note at the same time? Maybe not every note like we're doing here. What would you do? What are you gonna do? Well, you could detune them, which is what the NES would do often. Let's hear it right now. Detuning by 1 tick. So if you're writing hot solos, and you hear that buzzy sound because your square waves have hit the same note somewhere, oh no! You gotta detune them right then and there, or just leave them detuned right from the start. Now, as I said, we're gonna hear what it sounds like when you go 2 ticks apart. This is what Crystalis sounds like. This is too detuned, in my opinion. You guys know what I'm talking about? Bum ba bum 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 ba bum 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 ba dum bum bum ba bum 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 ba bum ba bum 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 ba da da da. Well, now I just have to play the song. Why not? I'm here. It's my stream. I can do whatever I want. Damn it! Just drag it in, Rad. Drag it in, kicking and screaming. All right. The only example I can think of where they double detuned. Savio, get the hell in here. Or you can make them start a few milliseconds apart. If the DAW is capable of that. You could. I'll show you, though. It'll still make it buzz. It'll still make it buzzy. But I like how you're thinking. Savio, I like the way you think. You're thinking outside the box. Damn it. Why do I keep doing this to myself? Oh, open that. hate display all, but it's the only way I can get mod plug to work without it. It literally will have my frame rate if I make it a window. On a 4090 with the highest of all settings. So here's what you can do. You can make it play a little later with this SD1. It says delay it by 1 tick. But the problem being, it won't really delay. The thing is, the square waves themselves don't really have enough of an attack to really make delaying it have like a sound. So it's basically just like a steady tone anyways. But I'll show you what it sounds like if I make all these delay. And we say get it back so they're both 22. Get this one to 22 as well. And you know what I'll do? Because I like you. We'll demonstrate what it sounds like on the first half and the second half without these. We'll see if there's a big difference. There might be. Who knows? I've never actually tried. That one. All right. There you go. Sorry, it's a new computer as well, so I'm not used to the way this works on this computer. All right. This is the first half is with small delays. And the second half is with them just going at the same time. That does do something. It makes it kind of like phased. It could sound good if it was maybe a lower octave. Like it could actually be an effect you would want. Yeah, that could actually be a good effect if you're trying to go for a different technique or a different texture. Wait, we gotta compare them like this. Well, now that stands to reason, what if you go SD2? Well, now I'm curious what it would sound like if I detune the second half. I'd say that's a workable effect. A Sevio, we'll call it the Sevio effect. That I've never actually done that on purpose, but I could see that you might actually want to do that. Because the thing is, once you start getting all these techniques, it doesn't matter what notes you hit sometimes. You just got to swap in and out of your techniques. That's kind of what I always thought Vert was doing when I would look at his project files for FX2 or 1. I can't, whatever one he released. You'd look at those project files, and it was just like he was cycling through like a Rolodex, like all the effects that the NES had. Like, hey, try this one. Try that one next. And so you could just consider this like, all right, new effect. Why not? It doesn't actually sound buzzy, so that's, as long as you're not sounding buzzy, I'd say that's a win. But I want to show you guys a good example of a track that I think does the detuning really, really well. One that put it on the map for me. And for the first, all the way up to Anomaly, I was not detuning at all. No detuning of any kind in any of my games or any of my soundtracks. It wasn't until Venture Kid that I started detuning. So not even Slayin'. Slayin' wasn't even detuning, I don't think. I think Venture Kid was the first time I'm like, what's all this detuning about? What the hell? And that was because there was a program that came out. So we know about Fami Tracker. We talked about Fami Tracker on the show, but there was an edit that came out called Fami Edit or something. And it actually let you open up NSF files in Fami Tracker, and it disseminated them pretty dang accurately. 100% accurately. Why am I so low? It's because I was sitting with my son on this chair last night. I've been sitting this low all stream. Hey, everybody, we're having a great show. Hey, what's up? I don't have Tiny Rat here. All right, let's get a little taller. All right, now I look like a sensible-sized human being. Anyways, I don't remember what I was talking about. I got sidetracked by goofy chair height. Anyways, I want to play you a track that I know has the detuning. And it's one thing that I always wondered, like, how are they getting that sound? And it wasn't until about Venture Kid time or era, I'm like, I got to redo my whole setup. I can't write the way I've been writing before. So I've been through phases in my chip tuning career where there's a lot of times where I'm like, I got to change it. I got to make a big change. I can't do it the way I've been doing it before, which is exactly kind of what I did with Prison City. I can't write them the way I've been writing them before. All right, so let's hear the robot repair screen from Base Wars. Even this is detuned, but not the one I want to show you. This one. Holy frickin' Lord. This is all it is. But goddamn, that sounds heavy. Anyways, this is probably my dark horse for #1 favorite NES composer. Same guy did Roller Games, which I think is secretly one of the probably my favorite NES soundtrack at the end of the day. Roller Games. Of all goddamn soundtracks. Man, don't nobody care about Roller Games. I care about Roller Games. Or no, it's Magnum Matsuo, that's right. Kenichi Matsubara is also good, but maybe it's this Matsuo guy, I can't remember. 1990 Konami Ultra Games, actually. So in Prison City, there was actually a level where you start on a highway, just careening down a highway. Ah! White knuckle. Technically, King's gonna be, hey, you lurk your balls off. I guess technically you were lurking them off already, but lurk them even harder, buddy. There was a level in Prison City that starts on a motorcycle, and I'm like, Roller Games! I'm going Roller Games with it. And I believe mine was this one. Pulse Pounder. All right, here we go. This was basically me attempting to do what you're just hearing here. I wanted that same energy. I wanted that level to start off like, you're going fast! Go! And then we go off on a tangent, as I am known to do. Hey, thanks, TM Base. I don't know if you saw the earlier part, TM Base. I'm gonna edit it down, but I showed how I made all the additional parts in Cubase on this episode as well. But it is a long stream, so I don't expect everyone to be able to watch that. That was the one. TM Base, it was just such a good project for me to be a part of, because especially with chiptunes, and especially where my mindset was with chiptunes, like, I didn't have it in me to, like, fiddle endlessly with chiptunes at the time. It's like, I don't want to guess, you know, like, that's a lot of with chiptunes. If you're a chiptune artist that's been doing it for 20 years, you have a sound. And so just because the game is NES sounding or needs NES music doesn't mean your sound is going to fit. As soon as I saw Prison City, I was like, I know exactly what that game should sound like. I know exactly how to make the music for this game. And very little of the tracks I wrote for this game got sent back. Everyone was like, boom, print it, get it in the game, let's go. As evidenced with some of these boss battles. Like, I'm the type of NES composer where I'm like, it needs to be fast, right? I know some people say, oh, these fast tracks, they're just a cop-out because you can't let the note sit there and write a good melody because you have to keep adding stuff in between. But it's like, I'm compelled to add stuff between because I almost feel like you're not getting a quality track otherwise. 3Venge, get the hell in here. Like, I almost feel like sometimes I'll send a composer a track, or a developer, one of the slow tracks. That's why they're always the hardest for me, because I'm letting a note ring. And I'm like, I don't know, it feels kind of lazy to me. It feels lazy to me to not have more stuff in there. Because I know I could add counter melody, counter parts, counter measure, counter this, counter that. I could get out of my mind. So, this was one of the harder tracks in the game. The only one that got sent back many times. On the 6th revision, I managed to get this one because it was one of the slower tracks. The slow tracks were hard for me. This was The Sewer. We've already listened to it, but I don't know if you guys were here for that. So in between each note now, instead of adding counter melodies and counter things like that, I'm adding more echoes, and I'm agonizing over more echoes. Hear the note sides down? Like, if you're giving them less notes, it feels like I'm giving them less texture, and that's like a cardinal sin for me. Is like, less texture. With chiptunes, there's got to be more texture. I could have given more. But then we got to get a little out of our mind. This was a fun one. The track where you're escaping the collapsing, like the end of Ninja Gaiden, always like the castle is breaking apart at the end, and Ryu's watching it from the horizon. Or on a mountaintop, and he's seeing it in the horizon. You're in this one, and you gotta escape while it's collapsing. So this was basically me doing the exact opposite. Please, just let me ride a fast track. It's like my comfort food is stuff like this. Notice I add like an alarm effect to the song. Like for me, it's easier to wrap up if I have more notes. And it's way easier to add variety. Get the hell out of here! It's falling apart! I guess now that it's out, we can spoil a bit of it. The end boss had actually... Sorry to do a hard cut there. Here, we'll do that more appropriately. All right, the end boss in the game, Ryan Schott, actually, he's the guy at RetroWare, is like, hey, what if we had a boss track that changed halfway through the boss fight? Like, the main boss starts out as a regular guy, then he mutates into a all totally fricked up guy. So I'm like, all right, I had to write the same track twice, but give it 2 different flavors, so it follows the same structure. But my thought process was I want the one where you're fighting the boss as a regular guy to be badass. Almost like you're the hero, you're fighting a bad guy. Like, you're a hero! Yeah! And then I wanted the alternate version to be like, it's all diminished, all fricked up. The boss is taking control here. And so here's an example of those two back to back. Ultimate Hero. Ultimate Hero! Yeah, Sevio, I know the hero key well. It's like my all-time go-to move. Actually, these are my 2 go-to moves. Ultimate Hero, and then Chaotic Evil. So this is the same track in Chaotic Evil mode. The bad guy's winning. Anyway, that was another fun one. You know what? Actually, now that the game's out, it's been out for a while, I can actually show you guys the final boss theme as well. So that was like the final boss, but then there's like a secret extra final boss that's super fricked up. And I wanted this one to sound like the world's ending, all right? It has to be here and right now. You got to win this one. And that's kind of hard. What are you going to do on Nintendo Music? Like, how do you represent that? And it's just, I don't know. It's something, I'm not going to say I perfectly represented it, but that's what I thought that would sound like. So it's the ultimate final boss. It's like here or not, fire speed. Earth fire speed? Sevio? Anyways, this was the final boss where it's still chaotic, but it's almost like it's more biblical. Like there's something fricked up. It's getting fricked up in here. World is ending. Oh, okay. World fire speed. Oh, was it fire speed another emote I don't have access to? God damn. Maybe I talked it up too much. I don't know. Maybe it doesn't sound like that at all. Also, if you want your final boss theme to sound good, you got to give it an odd measure. I don't make the rules. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And a little bit of Mega Man sass in there, too. Oh, there we go. There's the fire effect. There we go. This is straight up tech metal. This could have been the long lost track off of Anomaly. This part here is like the biblical feel. And a nice little loop to bring it home. You gotta love it. We lost the art of looping music in the video game industry. You know, now that we can have full orchestras, we're like, oh, we can't loop it. Fade it out, bring it back in later. When you get a good loop at the end, as a composer of NES music, oh man, does it feel good. Oh, that loop. While we're here, we'll just wrap this up with a couple extras. Cold storage was one of the cases where I really wanted the track to sound like the level looked. And, you know, there's tropes with NES music. There's tropes with all video game music, like if you're in a cave in modern music. Standard practice would be to have a drip sound effect in the tune of your song. Bloop, somewhere in your track. That's just what you got to do. I don't make the rules, all right? You're going to jail if you don't. But with a cold level on the NES, I always want, like, whenever you can imagine, like, ice blocks breaking in a video game, like, or a Nintendo game, it's always like a high-pitched sound effect. So it's like, I need that to be represented in the song somehow, like a high-pitched little bit. So much like I did with the escape track, with the alarms that are in the tune of the song, I wanted this one to have like kind of a freezing cold effect. I know that sounds silly when you're like, rad, it's just NES tunes, but that was actually something I deliberately tried to do. I don't know if that's exactly the way it worked, but that's what I was going for. When you look at the levels, now it stands to reason too. Prison City was just a very inspirational project to work on. I could look at it and be like, I think I know what that should sound like. And this was my cold storage level. Ice for veins. Get a little power chords in there. Why not? Oh, this is where the cold is taking you to madness. I like this transition, if I recall. Yeah. Another little point of note. Sorry, another hard cut there. Another point of note. Late in the game's design, they're like, all right, we want to reference the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Damn level. We need to. But we want the song to kind of reference the song from the old Turtles game, you know? Get the stress response up, because every kid remembers touching that seaweed going like, I'm not going to make it. I'm not going to make it. That level was traumatizing as a kid. And then you'd beat it, and then get to the next level, and it'd be completely stuck. I never got past that level as a kid. I played it once as an adult and got right past that level in 5 seconds. What the hell was I doing as a kid? Well, I know what I was doing. I was a little idiot that didn't read the manual. Probably just have to read the manuals, kids. Anyways, so I referenced the Turtles track for that. I've never done this before. Let's hear them both together. Now, I didn't use any of the techniques per se, but what I did was I used their exact song structure, like verse, chorus, verse. Like I wanted it to sound like it could be slotted right in, because there maybe was something about the way that like when you analyze it, it didn't have like a verse, chorus, bridge, chorus, outro. It had like a A, B, A, B, A, B, like just a looping sort of thing. And I think that adds to the stress response to it. Or I think that's why it worked well. And if I were to ever do something like that, a time-based attack, again, I think if you have something that goes A, B, A, B, A, B, it gets in the players' heads pretty good. But let's hear that track right now. I don't even remember what it sounds like. God damn it, Turtles drums. Interesting note, there's no, I don't think there's a DPCM sample for the snare drum in this. It's just noise. Yeah, and somehow that noise sounds so good as a snare drum. Like a tight little snare drum riff. Anyways, let's find that damn level. Let's find that damn level! This one. Like how it's the same bass riff, it just went up a bit. Now it went down again. And then my attempt was, get those bombs! Very similar song structure, right? And again. The only track I was directly referencing. Like, I want this song structure. Something about the song structure stressed me out as a kid. Is there anything else on here? Oh yeah, one other fun one. Late in the game's development cycle, we started doing the final levels, which is usually the way it works in the games I've worked on, where by the end of the game, by the end of like the development cycle, we're working on like the final boss track or something like that. It's funny because I always end up writing the final boss track accidentally, like within the first couple weeks of the project. Like, this is too fast. Maybe it's the final boss track. Like, all right, well, oopsies, noted for next time. But we were writing the final levels towards the end of the project, and I was like, you know what I hadn't worked on yet, what I hadn't done, I kind of want to throw in like a orchestral hit, you know, like the 90s did. You remember the 90s? So I have an orchestral hit all over this one. I thought that would just kind of give it a nice vibe. This one. Kind of like superseded. There's a lot of extra stuff being added here. Stereo style. Love pitch bends. Yeah, me too. In fact, I use too many of them. In Slayin' especially. Slayin' 1 soundtrack is just rotten with pitch bends. Like, oh god, even I'm like, too many. But you gotta think like a guitar player would do. If you're watching Yngwie Malmsteen just go to town, it's all pitch bends, vibrato, like little flutters at the end. And I think, Sevio in the chat's talking to me about that, I think pitch bends like that, they give you, they just give you, wait, I will turn this on. I don't like when you're hearing like the ringtone version of a track where it's just like, me, ma, 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 me, me. Like, I need to have some sort of pitch bend. That's the way our voices work. We always slide into notes really subtly. And the guitar players and other, when you get really good at an instrument, to give it expression, you have to start adding in some of those note slides and just expressive ways to finish a note or to start a note, things like that. Every riff is just so crunchy good. Never stops. Thank you, TM Bass. It was a very inspirational project to work on. I didn't have a lot of trouble being inspired on this one. So I think there's one other track I like, maybe two, that I haven't played yet tonight. And then I'm going to edit this big son of a gun into a YouTube video that'll make some sense. But why don't we turn that one down, close that, turn it up. The Storming the Gates of the Outer DCP. So this was like, if this was Mega Man 2, this would be like the first level in the Wily Castle. That's kind of what this is. Roughly how long did a given song take to compose? If I was screaming fast, I could do one in like 3 days, but usually a track would be like five days to a week. But that was also the pace I was at. Like if I needed to pick up the pace, I could do them faster, but that's like a comfortable pace for me, is like one chiptune a week. But the chiptunes take so long, especially the way I was working on this too. TM Bass, were you here earlier when I opened up Cubase? Because I can open it back up to show you. There was 2 steps to writing every song on this project. There was writing the NES track, and then there was me dragging every channel of it as a waveform into Cubase, and then dragging every channel from every instrument in as a MIDI file, and then start adding the MIDI to separate instruments to give it a little more. How many hours each day? Like probably 5 to 10 hours a day at least. A lot. It takes a long time to write goddamn chiptunes, even if I'm flying at a crazy clip. But this project, well, let's say that's probably like the upper end. If I'm going on a good clip, yeah, it's like a full workday on each chiptune, just nonstop. Bleh. Anyways, here's the Wily days. 5 days, yeah, 5 days for a chiptune. Not just days, 5 days. Yeah, it takes a long time to write this. Well, it takes me a long time to write any music, frankly. Being self-taught and doing it by ear means like I have to basically stumble into every song I've ever finished. But I have a knack for it. It's just I have to brute force it. And there's one thing I'm very good at is being a brute force frickster. You're the same way? Yeah, like I know Vert, he's like professionally, classically trained. So when he's staring at an empty canvas, he's like, today I believe I will write something in a minor key. And then I believe, I haven't done, this major, B major in a while. We'll start in B major, and then we'll add a couple of these chords. And then I know just from all the training I have that it'll lead really good into these chord changes. And that gives me all these other options. For me, doing a key change in a song is almost always like super careful and deliberate. Like, all right, I got to do a chromatic mediant here, like the Goonies soundtrack. I'm really going to work hard on writing this chromatic mediant first and then writing a lead over it. But I never really get to be writing something and then be like, what would go great here? A chromatic mediant. No, I have to do it all in advance. So yeah, having trained, you would know all that stuff and you'd have all these tools, but you don't get the happy accidents as much. And I'm really good at falling into happy accidents. That is something I think I've worked out as like a super skill. Charles Xavier will be contacting me soon. Like, I thought it was his mutant power. He's just some a-hole. We'll get him off the team. Why'd we get him these tights? Can I keep the tights? Fine, they're already dirty. Anyways, here's Outer DCP Storming the Gates, which I seem to recall liking a lot. You got the gallop. This was me basically doing the Mega Man 2 gallop. I was exactly doing Wily's Castle. I mean, it's just a cheesy move. If you want to make everyone go like, yeah, that song's sick, just make it have a gallop. Make it have a gallop and power chords. Everyone will be like, this is the best song. All right, you guys ready? The gallop's coming back. Key change! What? There's a lot of echoes here. Like, I'm basically not letting the notes disappear. Oh, what a nice loop back to the beginning. No one, it's like an art form. The loops, that's a good one. That loop went back real smooth. I have to hear that again. Because I had lead-in notes to the loop. You hear that? Da-da-da-da, right before the loop. Right here. Da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Change the locks, this guy's got a new key! I can't get it anymore. God damn it. It's my house. Why am I not allowed in? All right, the only other one we haven't heard yet is Power Plant Raw Power. And we'll close off on that one. Fine. Why not? Raw Surging Power. I don't remember this one. I wrote this and Factory and Power Plant I wrote at the same time, and I remember the first one I wrote it for the Power Plant, and then he's like, I think it would be better in Factory. So I was like, all right, fine, I'll write the Factory. Whatever. In my opinion, they looked like the same level. Just like a out of control techno level with like flamethrowers and stuff. So I'm like, all right, it's Power Plant it is. Kind of doing my best to do like Sparkman. Not so much. I mean, just what I pictured when I saw the level. Looping it! We're looping! Alright, everyone, that basically wraps it up. Yeah, we haven't heard this one, but this was one of the early tracks I did on the soundtrack. We're gonna end on this one. Thanks for watching tonight, everyone. I hope we've illuminated a little bit. It wasn't just an NES soundtrack. That was what I wanted to... I wanted to make a statement with this one. Hey, I'm not just an NES composer, alright? I got thoughts and feelings, and I have crazy ideas, and I'm not afraid to use them, right? I'm not afraid to reach into the goddamn abyss and yank that idea out, go like, ah! And then write a sick tune with it, or a whole project. So, yeah, that's it. Raddy's back on the block. If you guys like what Rad does for a living, Rad is available. Contact at radlandstudios.com. Let me work on your project. I'll take it to the next level with bespoke weirdness that you probably didn't expect or pay for, but you're getting it anyways. Yeah, whether it's NES music or if it's modern music, I seem to not be able to avoid an approach to songwriting that really is kind of bespoke. It's really out there, I don't know, but I get results, goddammit. So let's wrap that one up there. We expect the weirdness. Hey, thanks, Angel of Death. I can't avoid it at this point, but Angel of Death, everybody. Angel of Death. Did you hear the chiptune part that I think sounds like Slayer? When I tried to write the song show over, everyone. If you guys need to filter out, I'm still on the microphone, but you can filter out if you need to get home early. The parking lot will be filling up with people leaving, but this is me just talking with all the people at the end. Hey, Angel of Death. This one actually, to me, I was like triggering my inner Slayer on this one. Check this out. Just like Angel Death, that transition. Angel Death sucks, says Midnight Sun. Brothers forced to do battle. Alright, this was actually the first song I wrote for the project. We'll end on this one. Alright, thanks for watching, everyone. Wait, what would a good outro be on my YouTube? Did I already cover it? I'm going to edit this down to a YouTube video. That's why there's no chat here, everyone, in case you're wondering. What the hell, Ratty? Get a body bag. All right, brothers forced to do battle. Loser has to get in the body bag. And that's Prison City, everyone. Super fun project to work on, super inspiring. Brought me back from the brink. I was ready to just retire from NES tunes, but you know what? Maybe there's still life in these NES tunes after all. Maybe old Ratty Boy still got some life in these goddamn chiptune chops, right? Chop! So who knows what the future stores or holds in store. I'll see you guys on the other side. All right, and 3 Venge, that's one of these. Love you, Norton. Hey, love you guys too. It's nice to see you guys. I haven't seen you both in the chat in a long time. Both together? All right, we got some rascals here. We'll do a little raid for all the livesters over on Twitch. Wait, why'd I go to YouTube? That's not gonna work. That's not going to work for anyone. What the hell? I just went to Twitter. Guys, I losing my mind. See if we have any pals over on Twitter or Twitch getting out of their mind. Quantum Player 1's playing some retro games. The Wheel of Struggle. All right, we'll go see Quantum Player 1. Good friend of the show, Quantum Player 1. I think. Yeah. Yeah. That's the one. Advertisements. Go to hell, advertisements. No one would ever buy anything from an advertisement. Yeah, I mean, consistent. Busy with kids and all. Hey, I know how it goes. Kids are the greatest excuse ever. Hey, I'm doing an art show downtown. Do you want to come? Like, I got a kid. No. No, I would never want to come downtown. I would never, ever want to do that. I have a kid. Sorry. Married. Sorry. Can't do that. That's for single guys. Hey, you want to go to pub night? Nope. No, I don't want to do that. Married. Can't go to pub night. Kid. No. I only have one kid, too. If you have more than one kid, you don't have to go anywhere ever again in your whole life. And cut, says Sevio. Oh, man. Quantum Player 1's playing Pepsi, man. All right, well, he's after my own heart here. Diet Pepsi. Caffeine-free, though. Pepsi sleeps on caffeine-free. It's their best beverage. It's a good excuse to not have to do anything, but also you don't get to do anything. I got 2. Can't imagine more. It's always accidental. Yeah, the ones after 2 are like, all right. This time, we're not going to frick him up. And then he comes out even more fricked up somehow. God! I did everything. I did everything right. All right. Raid, Quantum Player 1, good friend of the show. Sometimes him and I and 3 of our other friends actually compete in speedrun competitions. Amateur speedrun competitions where we have no idea what we're doing, usually. Called the Big Fannies. But that's a story for another time. Let me turn that down a bit. Anyways, good to see all you guys. Thanks everyone who's come in tonight and watched this. I know it's a little bit different for me. I'm not even using my usual template here. I had to recreate my template within Cubase just so I could showcase how I made the music in this game. You guys haven't heard that in a while in this stream, but earlier we were doing it. All right, that's it for me. Wait, we'll do it like this. All right, so long, everybody. Just kidding, I'm still here. All right, and 3, 2, 1, heading over to Quantum Player 1 now. Engage. Stop stream.